3 seconds.
Alrighty. Hello, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary folks, and welcome to our Nexus Gaming Series Storm Division Finals. I am so excited to be here with two of my favorite people in the world, the Crushinator and Tetcher. How are you guys doing today?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. I'm glad to be here. Glad we get to cast this all together. It's going to be an exciting matchup here, the grand finals of Storm Division Season 2. It feels like the playoffs just started and we're already here.
I know, I can't believe it's been so long. And, you know, we finally come down to the end. Today's the last day, for all reminder for all of you to get your donations in if you want to contribute to the prize pool to help out these really awesome players. But, yeah, it all comes down to this. You know, we've had a pretty healthy rivalry, I think it's safe to say, between these two teams. Heavy Impact and WildHeart, both of them going to 5-game series in the 2 matches that they did do against each other, each one of them taking a match off of each other. So what are you guys expecting to see tonight?
I'm hyped that we are going into this so even. Like you're saying, group play, WildHeart were able to beat out Heavy Impact, but in the actual playoff bracket, Heavy Impact able to 2-3 WildHeart esports in really intense back-and-forth matches with really interesting picks both times we've seen that, which is not unusual for WildHeart in general. But I expect to see WildHeart have their continued little bit of flexed style. I'm curious to see how much they'll adjust to CCL, which they've been playing in their first week, and they probably are putting a lot of prep time into that as well. So I'm curious to see how that's going to dictate their drafting style compared to what they have been doing compared to Heavy Impact, who only one of their players is CCL, so they have been purely down the same line, most likely.
It should be a really interesting matchup. I got to talk to Pit Kid last week after their semifinal victory, and they feel like, you know, they've been doing some experimenting, they've been doing some working around with their drafts, and they feel like they've got a pretty good setup coming into this grand finals here. So we'll see. Like you said, Heavy Impact, they've been doing their own research as well. They've been preparing for this matchup specifically. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a huge change of styles between these two teams, or because of how close these series have been, if they're just going to go back to what's worked.
Absolutely, you know, makes sense. Lots of different ways both the teams can look at this. And speaking of that, I'm going to throw it to you for a moment here, Tetcher. How do you think the games are going to play out, considering Heavy Impact never dropped a series? They have been our upper bracket champions. They get the first map pick and first pick for this first game. How do you think it's going to turn in their favor?
Now, obviously, I am not a clairvoyant, I'm not a psychic, so there's not a huge amount I can go on here, but we can at least look at statistics and say that they have been very keen on Infernal Shrines as one of their opening maps quite a few times, or at least seeing it in pretty much every series they have gone in. In Season 1, remember, Heavy Impact are our Season 1 champions as well of Storm Division, so they're coming into this with a lot of experience and a lot of ability to flex, but they play very aggressively with their front lines, and I think Infernal's a good map for that because you are forcing the opposing team into a certain area where they are forced to try and take a fight. So I expect we'll probably see Heavy Impact maybe take them to some of those big actual team fight forced maps and try and win out that way. Whereas WildHeart, they do love their macro and they love their interesting drafts if they're going in for team fights.
Absolutely. We'll have to see. And it sounds like the draft is getting started as we're speaking right now. So, Crush, what do you think we're going to see here today? How do you think the teams are going to draft? Are they going to stay with that crazy style, experiment a little bit, or is it all hardcore from here?
Well, what we've seen teams do at the Storm Division level, and specifically WildHeart do, is run a double soaker between top and mid, and then focus the rest of the team on the bot lane. They've been able to draft Johannas, draft Zools, draft any sort of double soaker, even Leorix for this purpose, and run it a little bit more in that style, whereas most of the rest of the amateur divisions do sort of a 4-person rotate between top and mid. I'm interested to see whether those styles come through here, or whether, you know, because you could really go into both. Both those styles are very valid here on Tomb.
I mean, if you look at their last Tomb map, you could actually see exactly what Cross is talking about there. With their last cup, they literally ran a Leo Zool, where they had 2 people who could literally rotate between those 2 lanes as fast as possible and get that XP.
All about that soak. And I think here on Infernal Shrines, one of the things that we see is we don't actually see them team fight that much. You know, it's all about negating those turn-ins. So we're going to see Sonya banned away, a Hogger, and then, of course, Uther. Curious to see if we'll get a Medivh ban in here, but they fight so scarcely. You know, it really comes down to only when absolutely necessary.
And it's the smallest map in the pool, but it's very, very macro focused. It's not like a battlefield where you're just brawling all the time because there's just not that much to do. Every single wave counts on Tomb of the Spider Queen, so you've got to get your wave clear in order, you've got to get your rotations in order, and there's just not a lot of room to go and start extended fights between the lanes.
Gonna see that Lucio banned away, getting rid of that most high priority support outside of Uther these days. Malfurion's jumped up quite low in priority, so might be seeing that picked up by one of these teams because Emerald Dream turns out is really good.
May gonna come in here first for Tremor. That's classic Tremor tank. The only thing I think we've seen them play a little bit more is actually Diablo.
I like this pick onto May specifically because Medivh is up and available. We are going to see it picked by WildHeart along with Malfurion, who is another counter to Medivh, but May controls those portals fairly well. So I like that as a first pick option, a very strong tank right now.
Really solid, you know, maybe anticipating that Medivh pick. Malfurion, though, is actually, you know, kind of a soft counter to May. If you get those roots after she goes into the cryo freeze, it'll still root her no matter what.
Cassia and Brightwing, big high priority pickups there. That gives WildHeart a little bit. Sorry, that gives not WildHeart. Sorry, I forgot because Mason Blaze is on WildHeart for this season. Got it mixed up here. For heavy impact, they've got for that high priority assassin. They can also run this with the fact that Ball Lightning can either out sustain the Force of Will, or they can try and Valkyrie and punish that very immobile Cleanseless to a degree. Malfurion, he has Nature's Cure, but not a full unstoppable. With Valkyrie, they have a lot of options here, and if not, that poke could try and whittle them down instead of going for a massive burst style against that Medivh.
Absolutely. Heavy impact. I gotta wonder if they're gonna take out the Diablo here. It's been very strong with Medivh and very strong on Tomb of the Spider Queen in general. But with the Cassia, May, Brightwing, they may not feel the need to really ban out Diablo. There's a lot of demon-stopping power there for heavy impact, but gonna take it away anyway. It's just a really powerful pick with Medivh.
Pit Kid plays very few real tanks, so the one he does play, and he plays it very well, is Diablo, so it makes sense to get it out there. Curious to see with this Medivh if we'll see a double support, or if they're going to maybe look for a traditional tank, or if they're going to go tankless. You know, we've seen them play some really interesting picks in, you know, quote-unquote that tank spot. Tychus, Phoenix. Looks like we'll have to wait and see for that last pick.
And that's smart. Your opponent already has their main tank, so you could still flex it to a Varian, who would potentially be the best tank against that May. It's also going to be pretty reasonable against Brightwing if Brightwing is your target. So being able to focus that down would be very reasonable, but the fact they've left themselves open to prevent it from being hard countered is a very smart move. If they did pick Varian, there could have been a very solid extra triple front line, which would have given Varian a very hard time. We are going to see an extra frontline hero, that offlaner, as Deathwing offlane coming in from Heavy Impact, and Kroby, who somehow slipped through the draft up to now. That's even more poke. They are incredibly poke heavy. And there is a no tank comp with Asmodan, unless that is meant to be tank Asmodan, which I think might be the play here, with just hyper sustain Medivh, Malfurion, and maybe laser build for sustain.
I mean, I'm looking at this. Asmodan's great at just sieging structures and waddling away. The wave clear is there, along with the Falstad, so they should have their macro in order. But, I mean, so Medivh, Malfurion, Yrel with the peels, they can escape engages, which aren't exactly in high supply over on the side of Heavy Impact. But, I mean, it's once again, WildHeart's going to have to prove it to me. They've proved it to me over and over again. But they're going to have to do it one more time.
It's definitely more peculiar than what I think we have been used to. We see, like, off-laner tanks. This is the first Asmodan tank I have seen. We've seen weird stuff from WildHeart with Novas and all sorts. This is out of the ordinary, but like you say, their macro is absolutely ridiculous. It's going to be so hard to kill anyone with this composition. WildHeart might be able to just win that way with the just insane amount of support and sustain they have.
Have to see as we get on started here. I will see you guys after draft.
Most excellent. Alrighty, loading on in. Lock onto the observer camera. At least attempt to.
Yeah.
There we go. We're in the middle. All right,
good.
perfect. On the left in the blue, we have Heavy Impact with Infrared on the Cassia. Mason Blaze is going to be on the Bright Wing. Xenaris on the Deathwing. Tremor is going to be playing May. And Roger is on the Chromie.
And on the right-hand side, in the red trunks, it is WildHeart Esports with Zergling going to be playing off on that very hidden Yrel, trying to hide it there. Unaverted on the Falstad. Buds on the Medivh. Pitkid on that Asmodan. And Weary Day is going to be busting out that Malfurion Crush. We're starting off with already slightly different in terms of talents. We're going with Light of Carabor coming in for the Yrel. This is a bit more of an out-of-the-ordinary pick, as usually we see a lot of that extra physical armor. But against this comp, you don't really need as much physical armor from Dauntless.
Yeah, I've also been seeing some Yrels, they go with the Light of Carabor specifically into Deathwings, and sometimes we even see it going with the alternate ult at level 10. Going with that Hold Your Ground, because you get the armor from that, which kind of nullifies the effect of Dauntless. So it'll be interesting to see what the ult pick is going to be from Yrel, considering that level 1.
I don't think I've seen it with the ult before. That would be super interesting if that's what they're doing. I've seen it with the Aldor Peacekeeper at level 13 as armor, as damage reduction, which is one of the big counters to Deathwing, as things he is affected by basically is a very short list of damage reduction, armor reduction, and time stops. As we do see main tank Asmodan not up to snuff yet as they become First Blood.
Tremor doesn't have that Ice Wall or Avalanche engage yet for May, but just throwing down the Blizzard and the icing is enough to catch that big hitbox of Pitkid. So Heavy Impact is going to have their first kill of the game. Checking in on the XP. Looks like we're pretty even so far. Heavy Impact slightly ahead on the minions, and of course picking up that hero kill means that they'll be working on that advantage towards level 4. We see now Zergling could be in some trouble. Leaps away, but Tremor is there with the icing. Oh, Buds actually finds the shield. Is it going to be enough? No, Yrel goes down, and Buds could be in trouble as well, as Infrared was fending right over that wall.
Has to give up on those 5 gems over the wall, so 5 gems lost by the side of WildHeart there. Good aggression, punishing the Yrel for already jumping. We're also seeing Malfurion slowly stacking up, but he hasn't been able to find Heavy Impact too often. He's gone for Vengeful Roots, not Emerald Dream, going with the one talent that will actually affect the Deathwing in the late game, as the Sleep will not. Very sensible there. And we're also seeing one different talent as well. Heat Transfer, the old classic for May, coming in instead of what we've been seeing a lot of people go for, which is the extra damage on Blizzard. So it's nice to see that adjustment back to the old style of May play.
Right now we see Heavy Impact is focusing on that bottom lane. Right now it's Deathwing and May working on the rotation, trying to catch the XP, as Asmodan for WildHeart is just moving between the lanes and stacking. WildHeart has a very, very late game plan here with this Asmodan, with this tankless comp. They're going to die a bit in the early game. They're going to give up some early lane pressure, but all they're doing is just making sure they stay in the game until late and they hit their power spikes.
Makes sense. Very sensible. Get those late game power spikes. You can get those hard engages. Medivh makes it very easy to engage, but also very easy to escape. So WildHeart, they will have that advantage as the game goes on, unless, as you mentioned in the draft, Tremor can get that portal control out with this May. I think 54 stacks already on Asmodan, really working their way up there. They're keeping that rotation up and keeping the XP in their favor. Pitkid growing out with that all that extra XP. He's gone for the extra armor on those demon warriors as well. He's trying to keep that push going.
Xenaris turning it in the bottom. That's going to be 18 in for Heavy Impact. They've got their level 7s. We'll see what they can do here. Looks like May trying to find Falstad there in the top lane, but will not find that pick. And just, yeah, I mean, like we were talking about before, there's just not a lot of opportunities to brawl here in the early game on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and I feel like that's to WildHeart's benefit, given the way that they've drafted here.
Quite possibly. They're just trying to avoid it. Play that macro-heavy portal used by Buds to escape, who's on 25 stacks. Falstad definitely mixing it up with that level. Oh, hang on, Firestorm coming in as Tremor dives deep. Xenorus trying to zone away unaverted, pushing forward. Good knockback by Zergling. They grab Brightwing, but that forces the Cataclysm to come in and the full disengage out to the members of WildHeart. But yeah, we see a very interesting pickup here with Firestorm for Deathwing going for extra rotations, allowing him to go to the sky more often, and Falstad not going for the usual secret weapon, instead Boomerang, even more macro-focused here, allowing him to wave clear even faster and reducing spell armor to try and negatively affect that Deathwing.
This is something that I've seen specifically WildHeart do with their Falstad pick, is use it as a debuff, which is not something we get to see. Oh, May's actually taken out by the roots there in the bottom lane. Nice pickup by WildHeart, evening up the kill count. Not for long, though, is Falstad going to be caught by the stun and the fend. Now Weary Day could be in trouble as Brightwing coming on through. Weary Day trying to get on the other side of the wall here. Will manage to escape with the help of Buds. Nice escape there. But that is going to leave room for Infrared. Oh, Zergling is going to poke down and deny that turn-in with Cassia, who's holding 44 gems right now for heavy impact.
Cassia picked up the gems of May, which is why they have so many right now. But now, Tremor is now back. It's going to be able to zone for that Cassia and allow them to turn in. Very excited to see. Medivh is stacked. Bud's going to try and turn in. Infrared in the top lane, unaverted. Will get the interrupt, only barely though. And that's enough. Very sneaky. Just enough of a delay for Buds to get the turn in bot lane, allowing WildHeart to get the first of the Web Weavers.
Very nicely done there by WildHeart. Good communication. Looks like they're going to set up towards the bottom lane here. Xenaris is trying to defend as the rest of WildHeart is going to push in with this Web Weaver that's on the way, but what heavy impact have their 10s. They find the ice wall onto Buds, who's going to get stunned away, but manages to get the ult off and put the portal down. So Xenaris is now the one who's out of position. Can WildHeart find it? Yes, Deathwing going to go down actually to the Web Wave from the objective, and now WildHeart is going to have all the room that they need to push into this bottom fort.
Gust into ley line to buy as much time as they needed for Medivh to retreat. Deathwing trying to set them up with a fear, expecting Buds to maybe run back, but Buds instead turning around for a fight meant Deathwing was completely isolated, focused down, and picked off. Great polymorph though from Brightwing as they focus down Weary Day, who Twilight dreams and leaves. Infrared in trouble, they chase him down. 46 gems are going to be held onto as Xenaris lands back into the stage.
Weary Day still trying to stay alive in the back. Medivh is going to go down here. Zergling stopped by the ice wall, which is up again here. The Dragon's Breath is going to be it for Yrel. Asmodan's just been double soaking this whole time. Getting all those stacks. Pitkid now sitting at 196. Nearly done with that level 1 quest.
Nicely done, and that quest is going to mean he's going to get a big, solid amount of extra damage. That extra attack speed on his minions as well, going to be super helpful. And finally, with those kills, Heavy Impact will grab their first set of Web Weavers too, and they even start their Bruiser camp, able to aggro it before the objective is finished.
Blue Web Weavers are going to come on through. Lanes are pretty much met at the middle. They're in parity right now. We'll see if Heavy Impact can get any push done with this objective. WildHeart going to focus on that top lane, but level 13s are sort of on deck for both teams. Heavy Impact thinking about a flank. Instead, they're going to move through the mid.
Taking the safe rotation, WildHeart not wanting to get themselves caught out of position on this mid. But that push, unaverted, coming in. He was thinking about the Gust, immediately regrets that decision. Now he's kind of stuck with Infrared, forced to barrel roll away. In the meantime, Web Weaver and Spell Armor from the Bruiser camp means this is going down. Cataclysm is burned to get Xenaris up here. This will guarantee the fort. That's a big, long cooldown burned by Deathwing, who did not take the reset on level 10.
Heavy Impact do manage to pick up the fort. Pretty good at the, pre-9 minute mark here on Tomb. A lot of times that first or second turn into the game and first for one team doesn't tend to get a lot done. But now both teams have claimed their first fort of the game. Both have their level 13s. And I feel like as the game goes on, this Asmodan is going to start coming to fights more, start knocking out these lanes even quicker. We saw with that level 7 talent, the Master of Destruction. Asmodan can now just stack on waves solo. That's going to really start to hurt. We're already at 236 stacks, Tetcher.
Really making their way up there, stacking very heavily. Lots of extra DPS could potentially come out there. Even more push potential now as well with Chain of Command for Asmodad at level 13. The turning comes in for the members of Heavy Impact, continuing to try and chain these turn-ins together and get some counter push themselves. They need to kind of win early before Asmodad gets to late game.
Heavy Impact is going to find their second turn-in a row. Top lane is still pretty well handled here by WildHeart. Going to see Heavy Impact controlling the mid, going to try to push through and do some damage to this wall. Actually, oh, they're actually going to rotate down onto Urel. Urel is going to move back to safety here, so a little bit of indecision, it seems like, from Heavy Impact on the lanes they're going to focus on. Deathwing pushing through the top lane here. WildHeart trying to get some clear on the bottom and the mid. Looks like Heavy Impact is going to move up to the top lane and try to open up this boss lane a little bit.
Very smart of WildHeart in the defensive positions. They do have the Demonic Invasion. They could attempt to use this for a bit of extra weight, and they do. Heavy Impact trying to push in further. Good Blizzard from Trevor, trying to focus onto Buds, but Force of Will and the Drain. The laser from Pickett does huge damage. Leyline, Gus splits the team in two, but they aren't able to capitalize. They aren't able to finish anyone. Root from Weary Day just misses. Fear on Buds, not back on Buds. Portal expires, and he will go down.
Medivh taken out once again here. Heavy Impact taking the long fight. Not expected with this comp. They've got the Brightwing for sustain, but they're into a Malfurion Medivh. Nonetheless, they find that kill unaverted, somehow surviving there after almost flying into a Blizzard route. But Heavy Impact, we'll see if they can continue this slow siege onto the top fort. But Zerglin going into the backline, harassing Roger on that Chromie. This could be trouble as Pitkid throws in the orb, not going to find the kill. The chase continues here, Tetcher. Nice Ice Wall.
Ice Wall splits the team in two. Trevor doesn't have Blizzard yet, so wasn't able to set up for the follow-up stun, but Falstad is being bullied up at the top, trying to dance away. 35 gems on that bird, but will escape here. The rest of the team kind of brawling away. Zedorus forced to back up, still trying to zone away for the rest of the team, and WildHeart a little bit out of position, forced to back up to their side of the map while they wait for Falstad.
Lunaris staying out of vision there, as Deathwings are often trying to cast those abilities from out of vision. Right now, Heavy Impact is working on their third turn-in. They're about to spend most of their gems in that top lane, but it is looking to be interrupted by WildHeart. Now there's a bit of a chase going on. Medivh's actually going to go down here. Nice turnaround there by Heavy Impact. They only need 6 more gems to turn in, but it looks like they're going to be moving towards this top boss, possibly trying to get a double stack in this top lane.
Pickett finds Zedorus, trying to sneak away a Bruiser Cap. That will secure it for WildHeart, but again, this is all just a distraction for that boss. But can Deathwing get out of this alive? 150 health remaining. Zergling picks up the kill. Boss is nearly done. Ice Wall cuts it faster, makes it over the wall. Will he go for the dive? Boss is still alive. Gust is burned a little bit early. Root comes out onto May. Ball lightning in the backline. Boss was secured, but there is no kills coming in here. Only Deathwing to die out of Vert escaping over the wall. Weary Day, though, is very deep in this fight. He needs help. Pickett trying to slow, Unaverted trying to make their way in, but nothing can be done. Weavers are pushing in. Unaverted will get out. Portals saving the rest of the team, but they have no fort to retreat to. Leyline has to be burned, and the Tornado is absolutely wrecking them.
Medivh trying to escape here, will get caught at the wall by Heavy Impact. Just the kill after kill. Objective and boss still pushing in the top lane. And Heavy Impact, they're going to try to get themselves a keep here. Their push power is about to be taken out by WildHeart as Zergling caught in the corner, has to pop that ult to survive, but sitting on 39 gems, Zergling got to be very careful here. Deathwing tried to pop that Bellowing Roar, but did not make it out alive. Zergling, oh, actually both are going to get caught by the Ice Wall. Unaverted has to use the Gust in order to save the rest of the team. Looks like Heavy Impact without their Deathwing. Going to do a little bit of poke, going to try to get this tower, but ultimately not going to get much done.
Very nicely done with that Gust. Good control. This will save all the keeps. Asmo clearing this out. 36 gems. 127 total for WildHeart. They have survived the storm of Heavy Impact. They have all their keeps alive. They have more than enough for 2 turn-ins in a row. The game is now fully in WildHeart's control. They can delay for level 20 or try and chain some turners together. But they now have the momentum. They've survived everything WildHeart threw at them. Sorry, Heavy Impact threw at them. Now it's their turn to try and make something happen.
Zergling is trying to turn in those 44. Heavy Impact not going to be able to interrupt that. And we're going to have Red Web Weavers are caught pretty far back on the map here. And we've got a Bruiser Camp pushing in the mid for Heavy Impact. Uh-oh, WildHeart thinking about it, engage. Urel is caught on the edge here, jumping on through to try to help with this wave clear. And we'll see how much WildHeart can do with this push.
Trying to hold it together. Webweaver's pushing into the middle lane. Is the furthest forward. Top lane kind of caught on the minion wave. Let's see what they can do with this. Pickett setting themselves up to try and slam in. Maybe a demonic invasion as it is available to try and guarantee that 4. Lasering onto Zinaris, trying to whittle down that health pool. But the Webweaver already killed, and even with a fully stacked Asmodan, the team's tanking through this pretty effectively. But Heavy Impact holding together. That's a big chunk of damage onto one of Vertig, who's forced to roll away.
Good trying to push away Zinaris there in the top lane. The Webweaver down past a quarter health there. As Zergling monitoring the edge. WildHeart not going to have a lot of push power left, and really evening out the map with this turn-in, as both teams will be a little bit light on their gems. Asmodan going to pop that ult on the wall, get a huge amount of siege in, as Heavy Impact going to clear out that bottom wave, see if they can prevent the next turn-in from WildHeart, as they still have 91 gems.
91 gems, easily enough for another turn, and like you say, there's a siege camp they can grab, and they're even grabbing more gems as they keep control of the lanes. But again, no keeps. Heavy Impact still holding themselves together, and that's enough time for them to get to that level 20 with infinite ball lightning. This is their end game condition heroic, where they can just get massive amounts of damage and cooldown reduction to just bully out the enemy team.
Now WildHeart trying to find their level 20s before the next engagement. Heavy Impact is sharking around here, trying to make sure they control the next turn in. Only 17 more gems needed for WildHeart. Hitkit holding the most over for the side of WildHeart, so we'll see if Heavy Impact can keep an eye on that Asmodan.
There's level 20 on the board. Seraphim, Wind Tunnel, Life Bloom, big 10% healing numbers, especially for Asmodan. That's going to be important. Nice stun from Deathwings. They're forcing Zergling to back out. And of course, Medivh Sheets. This is where we're going to see big problems. And the Sin's Grasp for Asmodan. Zergling trying to delay, trying to interrupt. Perfectly done. And that's Pitkit to turn in.
WildHeart moving up here. They're going to have Web Weavers moving onto these keeps. Heavy Impact needs to put on a big defense here if they want to make sure they're even on this map. Both teams are a little bit light on gems after this turn-in. So we'll see where the pressure is going to be. Right now, both teams just jockeying for position in the mid. The Web Weaver is coming on through. Can WildHeart find the pressure they need to set up a win condition?
Trying to set themselves up. Lots of pressure being applied. Web Weaver damaging the fountain. It will already be taken out, though. The wave clear of Heavy Impact is so good. Both these teams have such incredible wave clear and macro potential. They're both struggling to get any momentum in this late game. It's going to come down to kills, really. But in terms of kills, Heavy Impact are the ones with all the engage. Falstad is kind of the best engage tool we can see for WildHeart Esports here, as we see the push coming in. Focus, but teleporting out with the portal will stay alive.
Portal is enough to keep WildHeart alive. They don't have a push going on in this top lane, but they do have an Asmodan. So the ult is going to go onto this keep here. They're trying to laser down the well. The wave is being stopped by that Chromie slowing sands. But WildHeart, I don't think they're going to be able to get a whole lot more done here. They're going to have to start to back off. And all keeps are saved by Heavy Impact.
Everything still alive for both teams. Finally, we'll see mid-fort die, which will bring the structures to equal settings here. Good stun by Zergling. This is their chance. Twilight Dream blocked, though, by the cryostasis. Another emergency cryostasis with a level 20 as Cataclysm cuts the team in two. Good Gust with Wind Tunnel allows WildHeart to focus onto Xenaris, but too tanky is the Deathwing as everyone disengages for both teams again. But the re-engage from Heavy Impact, trying to set themselves up, trying to move Infrared, is very deep in that fight. But again, no kills. Zergling dropping low, but tanking through neither team, giving an inch as Medivh cheats, shuts down the chase again.
Just trying to whittle down this backline is WildHeart. Pitkid throwing in those big globes, and Medivh coming in with huge saves back and forth in this fight. WildHeart thinking about moving on to this bruiser, trying to catch the retreat, but will not be able to do it. And WildHeart just keeping up the pressure here. They almost have enough for their next turn in. Heavy Impact almost enough for their next turn in as well. As Zergling manages to not get stunned there in the mid by Tremor. Ice Wall is going to come out and split WildHeart, but no one caught in the stasis. And this fight just continues and continues, Tetcher.
Neither one's giving up. The Ardent Defender is dropped, though. It's a big cooldown for WildHeart, and that's probably going to shut down their chase on a vertical to barrel roll away. Bruiser Cap will be secured. Zergling has to back up. Now they're in kind of a choke point. Gotta be careful as Infrared is solo, running down 3 people over the wall. Molten Breath comes out in case Adverted wanted to go in for Infrared. But again, neither team able to pick up kills, but enough gems were picked up by Heavy Impact.
Zergling looking for an interrupt on the top side. Will get one, but is not going to be able to get any more. Heavy Impact trying to turn in those 13. They do get it. The blue Web Weavers are going to come out here, but they're trapped on the keeps in the top and bottom lanes. Look at just the minion damage onto these keeps of Heavy Impact. Right now, WildHeart, they're in a pretty great spot map-wise.
They're looking solid. The keeps are dropping low, and their keeps are still very healthy. Let's see if these Web Weavers can change that as Heavy Impact set themselves up. They've cleaned out the waves. They've removed a lot of pressure. Good drain onto Tremor. Ice Wall catches Falstad this time. If they can kill him before the Gust comes out, that might be enough. Interruption of the Gust, but the portal is enough. No one dies this game, Crush.
WildHeart just continuing to escape expertly here. Heavy Impact, they're just looking for a giant ice wall. That's really the only way they're going to seem to find anyone to kill. But if Falstad is out of it, if Medivh is out of it, they have the ults to come on through with the saves. But now Heavy Impact has pushed through the mid. The objectives are pushing the top and bottom. It's really going to be up to who's going to control better on top of this keep. As we approach, we're past almost at level 23 in this match. Any sort of advantage could turn into a win.
The ticking down health of the Web Weavers has dropped them almost to death as they do make their way in for their final push. Asmo is trying to deal with top, but there is a big accumulation of minions up there. And as such, the first keep goes down. Leyline.
Odds is so low. Manages to get away. There's the silence coming out from Malfurion. The Gust on the backline. Infrared is in trouble. Cassia's going to go down. That's so much of the damage available from Heavy Impact. May has to pop that trait. As Zergling knocking away has to get the absorb. Looks like Heavy Impact is peeling away, but Medivh is on the chase here. They really, really want to find Xenaris. Can Deathwing escape here? The jumps from Murel not going to land onto Tremor and Mason Blaze, so just the one kill. But that could be enough for WildHeart to think about taking a boss.
They're going to make their way up there. They have numbers advantage for 30 more seconds. But let's look at steal potential from Heavy Impact. It would have been Deathwing, but the fear is not available. 15 seconds left, so they can't use that. They can only use Deathwing's body. Ice Wall is available. That could be their shot there. They start out Zergling, take the kill. Leyline is burned early, meaning this boss will have to be leashed by WildHeart if they want to get out of here safely, as they just lost one of their best boss securers. Ice Wall catches one. That's Malfurion, one of the squishiest backliners. Force of Will comes out, but the rest of the team can't catch up to Tremor, unaverted, causing too much of a distraction.
Pitkid still alive in the back, still trying to throw out those big globes, but WildHeart has to retreat here. Right now, Roger very low. Weary Day actually finds the root in the back, but everyone's going to be alive for now. Leyline goes out once again, finding 3, but still no Zergling. Down for another 25 seconds here. Xenaris is on the chase. Weary Day trying to get out of there, finds the double root. Buds manages to move back into Raven form. And WildHeart is just moving around the map like crazy here, trying to escape.
Lightning picks up the kill. That's going to add extra pressure. Malfurion able to sneak away, actually stuck a port, and Pickett turning in. He'll actually get rid of his gems, but now can he get rid of his pursuers? Here comes the Blizzard. Full Chromie DPS, massive stun. Asmo will land some demonic invaders to hold the line, but now it's Heavy Impact's turn to get the boss.
Heavy Impact with enough kills are going to move to this top boss. Yrel, Falstad, Malfurion are hanging out on the edge. Falstad does have the Mighty Gust upgrade. Yrel going to poke in as well and make sure Heavy Impact turn around. They're actually going to move away from the boss here. Weirday could be in trouble. Pops the silence, but not going to land on anyone. Malfurion going down here, and that is the Mighty Gust gone. Heavy Impact did not leash the boss, and they are going to be able to go pick this up.
There is potential for a steal here with Yrel jumping onto it, but it's nowhere near worth the risk, with Mei and Deathwing both having unstoppables that will stop being forced off the point. As such, boss is secured by Heavy Impact into the only lane without a keep. This is where they can turn it round. Catapult's cleared out, but that's shield damage on the core. 35 seconds left before Malfurion, but they will have Asmodan, but they won't have Demonic Invasion. It's all about that Falstad DPS now to try and focus down that boss. Our defender is burned. Ice Wall is dodged. This is defendable for WildHeart, but it's not looking good.
Medivh Cheats comes out. It's going to catch two. The boss is very healthy, already taking down this core shielding. We're at the 26-minute mark. It's going to start shredding the core so quickly. WildHeart is trying to burn this down, but the Mighty Gust is pushing away Chromie. Xenaris goes in with the Cataclysm, and it looks like Heavy Impact have won the war of attrition and are going to pick up game number 1. GG.
Game number 1 over to Heavy Impact, taking momentum. Our previous season champions back in it, looking for their opportunity to take us to a potential 3-0. But WildHeart have shown they won't let that happen anytime soon.
Quite the game there. Asmodan was doing a lot of damage. You see it in the numbers. 300,000 siege damage coming on out from the double soaking, from the ults on top of the buildings, leading the way in hero damage as we scaled into the late game. But the control from the Mei, from the Chromie, and Deathwing getting back there with those big fears was also pretty key to Heavy Impact's game plan. Very nicely done. Well done overall.
Absolutely. As we hop in, really solid game, you know, really back and forth. The entire time I was like, man, who is going to take this? Because it seemed a little bit at the end, finally put the members of Heavy Impact over the top to take our game number 1.
Feels good. So that is already a convincing performance by Heavy Impact, but WildHeart, they did play something a little bit more unusual. We already know that they have those big macro styles, but I think that Chromie in one of those last pick spots was such a brilliant pickup here. The extra DPS they ended up with there, 75k, quite a bit less than Cassia or even Asmodan in this case, but that consistent poke onto Asmodan, and the fact that Asmodan is such a big hitbox, kind of make it really hard for him to keep that level of sustain, and her being so long range, when Asmodan's full laser build, the All-Shot Burn build, couldn't really get purchase on her, so he was just completely limited to focusing Mei.
Yeah, definitely. Look here, we actually didn't even really see any percentage damage from Pitkid coming out, unless I have it wrong here. It's been a minute since I checked, our Asmodan builds, but I believe it's at 16. We did go for that Hell Rift instead. That's one of his best laser talents in the game, but maybe could have swayed the difference because Xenaris was just constantly in there causing a ton of problems.
Well, a fantastic game number 1 there. Heavy Impact is going to go up 1-0 here. I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a very short break. When we come back, it's going to be game number 2 here in the Storm Division Grand Finals. Don't go far.
Alrighty, hello guys, and welcome back. We're here, game number 2 in our best of 5 series. This is our final here in the NGS Storm Division. members of Heavy Impact are up 1 over WildHeart. We'll see if they can't bring it back on Battlefield of Eternity.
Always love a bit of Battlefield. The extra poke heroes get to play a lot more. We see a lot more Li Mings on this map than we do on other maps due to her insane ability to poke down. It's where Chromie is absolutely queen, but we also see some different priorities that we don't see too often, like the Vala. Hanzo gets a little bit more play. Raider Race. Always good stuff we like to see. Greymade as well gets more opportunity because it's always about that immortal race.
Gotta have something on deck to be able to burn down that objective. There's only so many fights you can win before someone is able to just whittle down from range that objective, so we'll see what the priority is going to be for these teams. But one thing that's always certain on Battlefield, a lot of brawling back and forth, so we might see some double support come on out, we might see some double bruiser come on out, anything that's going to help these teams in extended engagements.
I'm really interested to see where the teams are going to go, because I think in terms of maps, this has actually been WildHeart's most creative map where they get interesting with things. You know, we've seen Nova Azmodan on this map. They bring the Deathwing out a lot. We've seen, I believe, a Pit Kitaikas. So really where they kind of let themselves flow free.
They also have a 75% win rate on this map over the course of 8 games. And to be fair, all of their maps are very positive win rates, except for Praxis, actually, where they have a 0% win rate this season. But Battlefield is one of their tops. We're going to be seeing that brought out for them this time, but it's brought out by, once again, Heavy Impact against them as we head into the draft.
WildHeart thinking about their first ban, going to continue with the Hogger ban here. I'm not sure. I mean, Medivh got through the draft, but didn't win the game. Battlefield of Eternity, there's not the same sort of, you know, lane switch that you can do with those Medivh portals, but just being able to move around the battlefield is still very powerful. I'm interested to see whether it's banned or picked up early by our teams.
This and Tomb of the Spider Queen are like the initial Medivh maps that we used to see quite a lot, with Roll20 back in the day being one of the teams that really capitalized on the Medivh on this map in particular, and Virtus Pro being the ones in Europe who would capitalize on it on Tomb. So it is definitely a map we could see him pop up again. But now, though, these bans are looking very familiar. Will we see Lucio banned out as the final one?
Alrighty. You know, it's really interesting because Medivh especially isn't as highly prioritized on this map. Obviously, didn't see him banned away. Last time he was played, didn't end up getting the W, but we see him even less so, and we see him win less, as we're going to see Lucio banned out here. It's not very good for the Immortal, so a lot of teams, it's really hard to stack. Don't prioritize him here.
So the Medivh is left open, and Bud's happy to pick that up again here for WildHeart. So not able to pick him up in the 1-2. So that leaves options like Malfurion, like Mei, open for Heavy Impact if they want to control those portals. See if they want to commit to that so early. They were able to, you know, with this flipped around in Medivh first pick, there's definitely some, you know, you want to make sure that you're still filling out part of your draft early and not just picking counters.
Right, definitely. See a really, you know, kind of a divergent strategy here on Battlefield of Eternity. It's kind of gone away from those days where we grab things, you know, like we'll get a Lunara and an Artanis and a Vala and we'll race so fast. And it's more about what can you contribute to the team fight here, because all the race in the world does not matter if you are dead.
Hey, once again in, there is some race available. This time WildHeart commit more to the actual capitalization of Medivh aggression, which can be offered. You already mentioned earlier the fact that Medivh can struggle to stack here, especially if you're just stuck defending, which if they'd gone the same comp as last game, they would have been stuck defending and poking, and Medivh would have never got stacked in a very long time. This time, they are prepared to go in. They have Diablo, they have Dragon Arrow for follow-up, they now have some Immortal Race. This is much better as a Medivh comp.
Brightwing going to be the ban from Heavy Impact, interestingly enough. I mean, Brightwing is great for helping with that chase, moving through portals and disabling anyone might escape. See, WildHeart, they're looking at Mei, they're looking at Raynor. Going to ban away the Deathwing. Don't want to see Xenaris on that again.
Interesting to see here, especially since Unaverted already has that Hanzo. It's not just any Hanzo. You know, it's an unaverted Hanzo. This is probably one of the man's claim to fame here. And he does have that negative armor talent you can pick up, which really tears through Deathwing.
He also has the percentage damage talent on level 16, which is a long time to wait to kill Deathwing, but that's when you're going to be fighting him a lot more in the late game. So, and building into full scatter arrow as well, which is the counter build on this map for the Immortal. That percentage damage build could be insane. You can even go for a mixed build to really just try and out-bully him. But in this case, no Deathwing, and a little bit more defensive style for heavy impact this time, with Falstad giving them a little bit of extra soak potential and a disengage in case a portal comes in. Another gust could give them a way out. And Malfurion, as Crush said earlier, one of the other counters to Medivh portals. Just put a root under it, you have a much easier time.
Ooh, we are going to see that Artanis come in here, though. That coupled with the Deathwing, or excuse me, the Deckard, not the Deathwing, could be a really disastrous combo if they're able to line up that Scroll of Sealing and that swap perfectly.
This is a big zone control battle we're seeing here. WildHeart is very deadly if they're able to trap anyone with that Medivh positioning, with that Deckard combination. There's a lot of disengage available and a lot of zone control for heavy impact as well. And they're going to go with a second tank in Mal'Ganis as their last spot.
I have been an advocate for the off-lane Mal'Ganis for so long. His disruption and delay on the top lane means that he doesn't actually have to hard win the top lane. He can delay it and sustain against just tanking the minion wave if he needs to so easily. Stun out or sleep Artanis to prevent him from stacking if he goes for stacks. And if not, just the extra CC and disengage potential to try and bully out that Diablo and stop him from just chaining autos together with full attack builds gives him so much potential for disruption on this comp of WildHearts. I love it. I'm curious if it's enough if we get to late game for percentage damage Hanzo and just the burst that WildHeart do have.
Have to see here. My biggest question is, do you think this is what is going to bring it back for WildHeart? They've gone for a much more meta draft. And we always know, you know, when WildHeart is meta, they're not messing around.
I think they have burst. I'm curious if the burst is enough. Once Medivh stacked, I think they're good.
Alrighty. Let's get into the game here. On the left in the blue, looking to go up 2-0 in this series. It is heavy impact. Mason Blaze is going to be on that Malfurion. Roger on the Raynor. Infrared on the Falstad. Tremor playing May. And it is... I gotta hold on a second. I just saw screen Zinaris on that Mal'Ganis.
And on the right-hand side, it shall be WildHeart Esports with Buds on that bird. It is the Medivh. Pitkid on that Diablo. Unaverted on Hanzo. Weary Day on that Deckard Cain. And chilling up in top lane, it shall be Zergling on the Artanis. Very cool to see, very exciting. And we are seeing, interestingly enough, not Feast on Fear for Diablo, Devil's Due. He's going Globes Crush.
Devil's Due, the choice here, going to be trying to get a little bit of that extra healing in these fights. Kind of an interesting choice, as a lot of the fights happen in the middle of the map where those globes aren't terribly available. But it will provide a lot of extra sustain, as Artanis actually going down in the top lane. A little bit of a gank coming through from Zinaris. That is something that Mal'Ganis is very good at, is keeping people still for a while with that combination. So some early fireworks coming on out from Heavy Impact.
Nicely done. Works good. Having an extra 0.5 extra basic attack damage from that frequent flyer for Falstad is going to be real nice. So that's going to be very helpful for him. In the meantime, bot lane control is gained a little bit by the side of Heavy Impact as they cause a little bit of extra pressure, forcing the wave clear a bit faster, meaning they get the fast rotation up to top lane where the siege camp is going to be rolled over.
Looks like Falstad being forced back in that top lane as we move on up there. We got a full-on fight going on. Infrared is trying to get the damage out before the portal can expire, but Medivh secures the escape here for WildHeart. Right now, Heavy Impact doing a great job of moving around the map and controlling this space. A little bit more, you know, we usually see just a solo lane matchup up there, but Heavy Impact is trying to keep WildHeart guessing.
Absolutely, the fast rotation by them, keeping them guessing, keeping the momentum going. They secure that camp. But already WildHeart, that means they should get the quick rotation down to bot lane. They are using that for more momentum right now. Just Reyna and Malfurion down here with the counter siege camp. They're going to cause a lot of pressure. They even find Tremor. Just get the CC chain, not enough for a full kill. Unverted does just miss his scatter arrow, though. He actually hit Tremor with the initial arrow, preventing the bounce and preventing any extra stacks.
Artanis in the top lane trying to deal with that push from the Mal'Ganis. It's tough to move in there, especially if you don't know where the rest of Heavy Impact truly is. But with the objective coming up in 30 seconds, both teams just going to go ahead and work on their shaman camps and prepare for our north-south spawns, as it always is on our first objective.
Bruiser camps grabbed by both teams. Much more oppression being applied by the members of WildHeart, by the members of Heavy Impact. They sent more people to this because Artanis had amateur opponent, easily able to clear that out. Seeing a bit of a setup by Heavy Impact here. They're going to be the ones to go for the much more aggressive positioning as Buds moves in for a stack, which is sidestepped by Tremor. The Picket was put to sleep. He's going to try and set himself up, though, but that Blizzard is so good positioning-wise.
Medivh trying to portal into the back, but controlled by the roots of Malfurion. Still May going to go down to the scatter arrow. The reposition on the Hanzo is enough for WildHeart to pick up their first kill as they continue to defend this top objective while Hanzo and Artanis are racing away. Xenaris with the double sleep in the backline, though. Heavy Impact is starting to turn this thing around.
See, that's once again Emerald Dream punishing out Buds, just placing those roots underneath the portal every time. Xenaris in a little bit of trouble. He gets that 50 armor from his level 4, which is just enough to get him out of danger. Multiple man sleep. Buds focused down. He's got 19 stacks. Gotta hold on. Tremor, force of will. He's gonna get away. Portal takes him out. Hanzo finishes stacks. That's gonna be Medivh staying alive, and the Immortal going over to WildHeart.
WildHeart way ahead on this race. They're going to go ahead and finish that up in the aggressive positioning of this objective. It's going to be moving on down to the bottom lane. And taking a look at the two teams, I feel like the defensive power from Heavy Impact might nullify a lot of this push.
Have to see as the pressure does come in. They've got everyone here except Hanzo, who is just on the way. Will be arriving shortly. Let's see what they can do here. With level 7 advantage, half a level lead for WildHeart. They're going to try and set this up. The zoning is shutting down a lot of the counter push here, but counter Blizzard also cutting off a lot of the escape. Tremor trying to be charged into a tower by Pitkid. Not able to find the full kill potential. But like you said, look at Reyna melting this Immortal.
Heavy Impact doing a great job burning away this Immortal. Unaverted gets peeled for by Pitkid there. But one thing I didn't really expect is the impact of Deckard there for WildHeart. There's a ton of burn available on the side of Heavy Impact, but with Deckard constantly throwing out those big roots and the threat of a Medivh portal in, Heavy Impact has to be very, very safe with their positioning. So getting a lot more done with that objective is WildHeart.
Forget Scroll of Sealing, more like Scroll of Zoning. It's really working out well for them. Full scatter arrow build, unaverted, fully stacked. They could try and rush this siege camp, but they don't want to. They didn't have everyone there yet. Instead, they again try to set up for Tremor, just short of landing the charge onto the wall. Good penetrating route by Roger to save their own butt there.
WildHeart sets up the portal. Buds, almost went into the wrong neighborhood there, but manages to get on out as Unaverted still working on this bottom camp here for WildHeart. Pretty even going through so far. WildHeart did pick up the first objective. Right now, we see Infrared flying up to the top lane to try to help push out this top wave. Zergling and Xenaris doing a pretty good job trading into each other early. Neither really have the power to kill each other, so it's just about wave clear and positioning here in the top lane.
Absolutely, it's just going to be a back and forth trade for quite a while. Will of Tichondrius did come in for that Mal'Ganis, but for the percentage damage, which will help out as the game goes on, and will help him duel Artanis a little better. But like you said, no one's really gained the advantage there unless the help of Falstad can turn into a kill once again. In the meantime, they're trading that pressure on Artanis for this fort. Great kill there. The Fountain's even taking a lot of damage. And now, big rotation coming up to top lane. They've got some space. They want to see if they can make something out of it. But good reaction from Heavy Impact. Already retreating.
They've got some good knowledge here. Pitkid's actually going to go onto Mal'Ganis here. Surprise pick. Xenaris is going to be just fine. Mal'Ganis very, very tanky, especially at high health. The objective is up and running here. Both teams missing their level 10s, but they're going to come through very soon here. Heavy Impact has got to watch out for that timing.
There's that level 10 immediately. We have a big CC pickups, Dragon Arrow, Apocalypse, stay on and listen. Leyline seal, the potential for the Leyline APOC combo or the stay a while and APOC combo with Dragon Arrow follow-up and a lovely suppression pulse for Artanis because the other one's kind of rubbish. As we do see WildHeart win the first Immortal halftime show. Sorry, second Immortal halftime show.
They're done a really good job of playing around this objective here. Heavy Impact going in, but that's the Leyline with the Apocalypse going to catch Falstad in the back, and WildHeart, oh, one's going to get caught by the ice wall there. Blind coming on through from Artanis. It's an ult fest as Infrared gusting back. Weary Day going to get stunned by the objective. Dragon Arrow comes in onto Infrared. Short stun, though. Right now, Deckard Cain is actually going to be the first to fall as Heavy Impact picking up first blood in this fight. Artanis, with nowhere to go, is going to fall as well. But look at this objective. The Scatter Arrow is enough for a nearly full health Immortal to be pushing down the top lane for WildHeart.
Trading 2 out for the Immortal win. Medivh with 39 stacks nearly died in that fight. Malfurion cleansing the Dragon Arrow, the Ice Wall to cut out Hanzo. Back and forth from both these teams. Medivh is stacked. But again, WildHeart grabbing the Immortal, and again, almost zero value. The Immortal just going to be cleaned out by Raider. Picking us to zone for Buds due to him getting double sleeped. But that's just a dead Immortal. This time the 4 is going to take almost 0 damage. Although Deckard still continuing to be a pain as he arrives back from base.
Medivh portal into the back. There's the grass laid down by Malfurion as 2 are going to be caught in this ice wall, but Blizzard already used. So WildHeart threatening to move on to Heavy Impact allows enough time for this Immortal. Oh, we have a huge gust coming in from Falstad. Members of WildHeart are caught underneath the fort. Leyline comes out and Hanzo is going to be blown up. Weary Day in trouble as well. Gets through the portal. The rest of WildHeart kind of stuck there. Carrion Swarm on the backline as Xenaris is in for the chase. Pitkid caught inside. The root from Malfurion will go down here, and Mal'Ganis is going to sleep too. Tremor with the icing, unfortunately going to wake 2 up. Can Zergling escape here? WildHeart still trying to get out. The root lands. Oh my goodness, they just keep on stalling.
There's so much CC. Zergling, he's stunned out. Malfurion gets the kill. Oh no. Oh no.
Tremor over the wall here. May and almost nowhere to go. Finds the icing out. Pitkid charges on through, finds the flip, but is knocked back. Can't find the damage. Xenaris is trying to get away. Can't find the sleep on unaverted, and this will almost certainly be a dead Mal'Ganis. Valiant effort there by Xenaris to get away.
Yeah, absolutely kited. Unbelievable. I have no idea how Tremor lived that. And what a dodge play by unaverted. Second gust.
Weary Day catches 2 in the sleep.
He has no way to kill him, though. No way to wrap back around. Scatter Arrow is coming out, but it's not enough to find Tremor. In the meantime,
almost
Diablo is
picking up
killing
that
people.
kill there. Oh, yeah, there was a false stat in the back, too. This fight is just completely all over the place. We can't capture it all. If I look at the kill count, I'll say Heavy Impact came out ahead. I'm not sure, but it looks like Heavy Impact is a little bit pushed back right now. WildHeart getting the final kills means that they're going to get this top camp pushing. Bottom camp is being worked on by Artanis. And right now, there's a little bit of lane maintenance that's going to have to be done for the blue team before they can get back onto this objective.
So far, Unaverted has been so aggro with his positioning, and we're seeing it Infrared trying to punish that with all these aggressive gusts. So far it's worked once and failed once, and it's only going to get worse as the game goes on and he gets that level 20 wind tunnel if we get that far. Immortal head start coming in from WildHeart. Xenaris, he's sharking around though, looking for his positioning.
WildHeart wants this fight to go on as long as possible. They've got 3 camps pushing in the lanes right now. We see Raynor in the top lane has had to retreat. Heavy Impact realizes that they have to make a choice. They're going to go and try to clean up these lanes and then come back to the objective after halftime. But this is what WildHeart's been doing this whole game. They've been forcing out tough choices and getting way ahead on the push.
Lots of Pogo coming out from Unaverted. WildHeart, like you say, getting ahead in the push, pushing in bot lane, bullying out Falstad as they look for Tremor here, continuing to poke in. WildHeart looking so aggressive as they continue to harass away. They have some great race talents now with that level 13 triple strike for Artanis. If they can get to the Immortal, they're going to do a lot of damage. Otherwise, they're going to have to rely on Falstad as Tremor tries to go in. Can't find the full angle. Sleep hitting multiple members. That's a lot of damage onto Artanis. Ancient Blessings comes out as Xenorus is focused down.
Hanzo going down in the 1v1 versus Falstad, and Heavy Impact is going to continue to chase on through here. Heavy Impact is going to get blinded here for 4 seconds. Uh-oh, the sleep comes out onto Artanis. The root as well. Follow-up sleep from Malfurion. Artanis is going to be saved there by Buds. Ice Wall not going to land onto Medivh. Heavy Impact trying to get some race onto this Immortal. Xenaris just zoning out on the bottom side here.
Zergling trying to delay, trying to distract, but he can't do it alone, and Pitkid is being zoned out so hard by Xenaris. Artanis trying everything, but Tremors, he's seeing them out. However, Infrared is dropping a little low. Stay a while, not finding anyone. Roger was too far back. Immortal is being poked down. Leyline hitting just Roger, which will be the APOC. Will go off, but cleansed out again by Mason Blaze.
Right now, there's the ult from Mason Blaze, keeping everyone nice and healthy with that extra armor. Xenaris still full health on the back line of WildHeart right now. Zergling being forced back, but has the portal to escape. And still, you know, pretty close on these Immortal healths. WildHeart is going to have to tap and get ready again. But the fights go on, and the lane pressure from those periodic catapults is starting to add up after all this time.
Xenaris just won't leave them alone. He's doing so much harass. Double sleep into the Immortal stun, but that's a good force of will. Keeping Artanis alive. Dragon Arrow comes out, stuns out May, but it's too late for Diablo. Pitkid taken out as the focus turns onto Zergling. Artanis has no out, only degrees of in. He will be chased down and popped by Infrared. The shield buys time. He holds for the moment, but Infrared will win that fight.
3 down, 4 down, unaverted, the only person left. Tremor forcing out unaverted here, and the rest of Heavy Impact is going to go ahead and pick up this objective, but they're going to have to get their lanes in order here, as now the top keep is starting to take damage from that catapult buildup. Xenaris going to have to deal with that. Man, I feel like WildHeart may get more damage done with losing 4 members than Heavy Impact is going to with this Immortal.
Possibly. They've done so much damage to the keep, and Xenaris has not gone for wave clear build on this Mal'Ganis. He's gone for that sort of backline harass build with blind as a bat, even for even more control. Good dodge by Unaverted, getting out of the way of the ice wall. The Immortal deciding that walls are a figment of your imagination. Delay on the push with that suppression pulse, but it is now a 5v5 again.
Diablo slept, is in a little bit of a tough spot, moves away. Trent, is going to get stunned by the Immortal once again. Medivh with all the saves possible, but Pitkid with just nowhere left to go. Is the ley line going to be enough? Weirday coming through with the save as well. Dragon Arrow is going to whiff, but somehow Pitkid survives. Heavy Impact is going to try to move in. Oh, Hanzo gets over the wall with 140 health. WildHeart using every tool in the toolbox to stay alive here. They clear away this Immortal, and Heavy Impact is now caught under a keep.
They've caught under a keep, but they've got a couple minions still pushing in with them. They're still trying to put the pressure, and the health bars are still very low. For WildHeart, flip attempted, just missing Roger. And that's enough to drive them back. Medivh is pretty solid at keeping people alive. Deckard, great at zoning, but doesn't have a huge amount of very quick healing. He's very reliant on those potions, and that's what we are seeing here. That everyone from WildHeart, once they were really low, they just could not re-engage. They could not re-enter the fight because they were too pressured, they were too low. And that's what we are seeing here. Just incredibly hard for them to re-engage once they have lost the early engage.
Right now, Medivh hovering over that back camp, making Heavy Impact think that the rest of WildHeart could be anywhere around this corner, as top camp is also claimed. Right now, we see Heavy Impact taking that camp early just to get it off the map here. They want to be able to get pressure in this top lane and even out this catapult count. Icewall is going to catch the Artanis here and cut off Pitkid. Gust comes on out to try to deny Diablo. There's the Dragon Arrow from Hanzo. As Xenaris, blind as a bat underneath this fort, is causing all sorts of havoc. But going down is the Mal'Ganis, not able to find enough stuns there. Heavy Impact trying to make something happen with that camp, but they get punished for it.
They try to isolate someone, but they only isolate Diablo, who is immediately able to portal back out Very nicely done by Diablo and Medivh there, and they were finally able to turn all of their attention onto Xenaris. If they leave him alone, he causes issues. If they're forced to do something else while Xenaris is back there, then Xenaris gets a lead for Heavy Impact. But this time, they got control, they turned around, and they absolutely bought him.
WildHeart has the pressure in the top lane. They're going to move up and work on this race. Apocalypse comes on out, is not going to catch anyone there, but that will give them room to continue on with the race. Artanis still trying to clear away that bottom lane. Objective about half health here, but they're going to have to move back.
Lots of pressure up in top lane. The Rain is a Raider, nearly finishing that off, but Roger has to retreat. Diablo chasing him down. The root does not land. Ice Wall will catch Hanzo, though, and then it's going to run past Pitkin and try and take out Unaverted over the wall, but directly into Infrared. Stay a while. Buys them the time they need and the escape. Xenaris going to get popped by the percentage damage of Artanis now. That's the only kill in this fight. So they immediately move on to the Immortal.
WildHeart, unbelievable chase there. Pitkid just running through the lane, knowing that Medivh could catch up the rest of the team at a moment's notice, and it's going to be another full health Immortal going over to WildHeart, moving down the bottom lane. Just incredible play around these objectives from WildHeart.
They're really piling on the pressure as much as they can, putting on extra aggression every single time they get these Immortals, and there's only going to be so many times that Raider can just sustain through this, can clear these Immortals, because this one is full 100% shielding, and Reyna with Portal Diablo now at full effect, with that full Diablo build now in play. Roger's in trouble. He can't really step up safely. Trevor's trying to create some space, but Buds is looking for ley lines. Zergling looking for swaps. Everyone is looking for the opportunity to try and catch someone. Apoc burned early, actually. It does stun out Xenaris, but they don't find a full engage out of it.
Objective still with half health as this keep falls. There's the root onto Artanis, but Mal'Ganis is a little bit stuck in the back line here with the blind as a bat, is going to go ahead and escape. Tremor pops that ice wall with the blizzard. The gust comes out here from Heavy Impact as this Immortal moving down towards half health. Force shielding is down past 100%. Could WildHeart move up to try to end here? There's the sleep coming on through. So Mal'Ganis is actually going to get popped. We're down to 59% on the core. Mason Blaze is in trouble. It is going to go down, and WildHeart going to continue on with the push. It's a quad kill, and the core will fall. WildHeart strike back and even up this series. GG.
Nicely done by WildHeart, putting all of their focus onto just trying to keep Heavy Impact from killing that Immortal. They start by APOCing around the keep to buy them some time. They were looking to see if they could find a kill too, but there was no such luck. But they still were able to delay long enough to guarantee the keep, and then dropping Suppression Pulse, Dragon Arrow, Leyline, none of which were seeking kills, but all of them stopped Heavy Impact killing that Immortal. Everything was kind of focused on Roger, and that worked to great effect, and as such, they were able to delay long enough for the Immortal to do the damage they needed to win the game.
Really, really nicely done there. What'd you think of that one, Jinxie? That was, you know, interesting comps to be sure.
Yeah, definitely some unusual comps that we don't typically get to see. And of course, WildHeart biting back game number 2. A much closer game this time, 11-10. Really just on top of their great game. Great communication by WildHeart there.
Take a quick jump over to the talent screen for those who are interested. See if there's anything super out of the ordinary. It was the Rainer's Raider there for Rainer, so not going with the Hyperion, going with the single target damage instead. Otherwise, things looking pretty normal.
Yeah, the only things I would bring up here are the fact that Falstad again went for that boomerang, really focusing on the spell armor reduction, which is good for trying to focus down Diablo and Artanis. Just everyone's so tanky on that team. And also the fact that we already mentioned it, even with Xenaris going for an off-lane build, he didn't actually build any of the off-lane talents. He went for the extra armor to try and just sustain through those fights a lot more. He went for deep sleep, extra sleep duration instead of damage over time. And he went for blind as a bat instead of that quick burst on your W to help clear the waves. None of the actual off-lane stuff, a lot more commitment to actually just wiping out people on the backline and causing just problems. And he did. Xenaris very nearly solo won that game, with Infrared also getting some fantastic gusts.
It was, you know, against an Artanis in lane that's not, the Artanis isn't going to be just clearing the wave and pushing you back to your keep wall. So you can get away with taking talents like that and not just completely losing out in the solo. So definitely a good adjustment there. But overall, really fantastic stuff from WildHeart. We saw just a real mastery over the timing of the map and the ability to push those objectives, and just sort of, they never really seemed to be in doubt. They lost a couple fights, but every time they did, the map pressure was in their favor.
Absolutely, this is what we see from WildHeart. They always test the limits just a little bit, but then bring it on back. Pit Kid, aka Justing, for those who don't know, really just has it, down to a science, the chess game, and doesn't always go as planned, but when it does, it really does. It's hard to come back from that, I think. That being said, though, Heavy Impact, they're putting on a great fight, always right where they need to be, and I think that's something that just really goes to show you how talented these players are.
Couldn't agree more. There's so much flexibility in these teams as well. I'm curious if we'll start to see those Medivh bans out. The usual method of Medivh banning is ignore it when we think we're too confident that we can beat Medivh, realize how much we messed up by not banning Medivh, and then we ban Medivh. This is another fantastic Medivh map. Will we see it banned away this time by Heavy Impact, as they don't seem to be wanting to play it themselves, even though they can. They do have it and have played it this season. But this time, will they pick it up? Will they ban it away? Or are they just going to ignore it and give it to WildHeart again?
I actually have a little bit of a Medivh trivia that I had just in case we get a couple of lulls while the teams were waiting here. So I'll ask you guys, and then I'll reveal the answer. So who do you think has banned Medivh more over the course of the entire Storm Division season?
Between these two teams?
Yes.
I've got to think it's WildHeart.
I'd agree. I think WildHeart have, because I think they've played it the least as well.
You are correct. Yeah, WildHeart has banned Medivh 24 times compared to Heavy Impact's 12.
Makes sense. Heavy Impact played it more.
Yeah.
So
just a little bit of trivia about that. Interesting to see. The map where Medivh is supposed to be super OP and carry everything. He gets absolutely, kind of bopped. And then the one where we're like, hey, they're not going to pick it. It's not very good. He goes in and he makes some big plays for the team.
It was definitely more of a traditional Medivh draft the second time around.
Yes.
All right, and there it is. Going to be banned out this game.
As well as the offlaners get wrecked. So now, Lucio or Uther? Who's going to get that priority ban here? The main tank or healer Uther, as we've been seeing teams be very flexible with it, or the just infinite high fives, or we've been seeing a little bit of sound barrier play from the professional teams coming in. Neither. Now there's a choice. Which one is prioritized? As Mei is removed. Trevor, a little bit too scary on that maybe, causing too many problems.
Mei has been doing very well. WildHeart likely thinking they're going to trade out the Uther or the Lucio, whichever comes on through. Be interesting to see here if Heavy Impact can delay either one, or if they're worried that maybe WildHeart just picks them both here. See what the first pick is going to be. It is going to be the Lucio coming on in for Mason Blaze.
I kind of suspected, and I was going to say, I hope they would pick that up because Mason Blaze is so very dominant on that Lucio. That's we're going to see Weird Day grab this Uther as to be expected. I'm curious to see if Pit Kid is going to pick this up or not, or if maybe we'll see it, on Zergling. There are a lot of people who can take this. Take the DPS Uther, why not?
Even if you're not running at DPS, having just two supports running in there, even if one of them isn't the main tank, is definitely not out of the equation for WildHeart. That would mean they would be running potentially 3 supports. They could, in theory, run with this, but they, like you said, they have that flexibility on Uther now, running it with Cassia, who's already just insanely hard to kill, which makes me believe this is probably going to be a tank Uther, because Cassia's shields will overlap with Uther's a little bit, and they'll lose a bit of value. But they still have the potential to still be flexible either way they want, and Divine Shield Cassia is very hard to kill.
Sylvanas making the first appearance in this series. We've seen some big mind control plays coming through with picks, coming through with just general silences onto the tank. So that's something that WildHeart's definitely going to have to watch out for here.
Their Sylvanas is 7-3. they're so terrifying with it. Like you say, the mind controls have been so solid here. The waiting arrows could be insane as well here, depending on where Uther is positioned. Just trying to wipe out that sustain and that cleanse could be ridiculous. It's like you say, yeah, again, Deathwing is removed.
Heavy impact. Thinking about their next ban here. Uther Cassia doesn't really give away a lot here, Jinxie. What do you think WildHeart could try to build off of this combo?
Oh gosh, there's so many ways they could go. They could go for maybe a more burst style comp, you know, if they're feeling really spicy, pick up the Uther off or the Uther main support actually. So Weary Day could be playing this, and then we could see like a variant combo come out here. Otherwise, you know, something like a Stukov is a really solid lockdown, and it looks like we're actually gonna get that Diablo. So maybe double support still. A really low damage team if they go double support here now, so I wouldn't suspect it to be.
Certainly moving back to the Urel.
I like it. It's a good double. It can double soak on this map, which is so important as the late game comes around. It's great disruption. It's fantastic delays. They've basically gone for, if they had gone for Johada instead of Diablo, they would have one of the most unkillable teams in Heroes of the Storm. But in this case, Diablo is a little bit more aggressive. Diablo dives in. Urel can either play defensive or disrupt people for Diablo to make their way in. But that is so smart. You already see your opponent has a double soaker, but not a high kill potential double soaker. And even so, they have a good stun kill follow-up, but that requires their 4-man to rotate. The Vikings is forcing WildHeart to go something that's higher on the rotations. A Falstad would be good here. A Zeratul could be solid, but they're forcing their hand to react. And with a Nubarak on the board, now we already see that WildHeart have a little bit of trouble in their hands because Heavy Impact are more prepared to deal with it because they have a better isolation tool here.
It is going to be Zeratul on that last pick, which means it is solo support Uther alongside this Cassia and Diablo. Vikings always make things spicy here, though the Zeratul picked into Vikings, but also picked into Falstad and Lucio. It's a lot of low health bars back there that Heavy Impact is going to have to keep an eye out for.
Wondering if maybe this wasn't Heavy Impact's kind of plan all along to force the Zeratul, because looking at the stats so far for the entire season, there's a big goose egg in the Zeratul win rate for WildHeart. They're 0-3 on it right now, so maybe not something that they pull out often, maybe something that Heavy Impact is just so used to playing around, but yeah, I can't help but wonder if this was the goal all along.
It's a good point. I didn't bear in mind the Zeratul win rate. That is interesting to see. We'll have to keep an eye on it and see what happens here. As looks like we're going to be heading into the game. Towers of Doom is going to be our map number 2. And let's get it. Sorry, map number 3. Let's get this going. Crush, who's this on the right?
On the right-hand side, we have WildHeart circling on the Urel. Pitkid playing the Diablo. Weary Day is on that Uther. Unaverted playing Cassia. And Buds is on the Zeratul.
Whereas on the left-hand side, in the blue trunks, it is going to be Heavy Impact with Base of Blaze on the Lucio. Xenaris on the Eric Baylog, and Olaf playing the Lost Vikings. Tremor is playing a Nubarak. Roger on Sylvanas and Infrared on Falstad. And they are not going to check that bush. It's straight down to bot lane to try not to die and get caught by Zeratul.
Weary Day just keeping an eye out, knows that Heavy Impact is waiting down there as Olaf gets picked off in the mid, as we're often like to see in this game. You know, the Vikings, they're going to die a lot here, but as long as they don't all die simultaneously, they're kind of doing their job.
Very true. Also, just to expand on some information Jinxie gave us before we came into the game, I've just looked up their CCL stats as well, and WildHeart have a 0% win rate on Zeratul there as well. So maybe this is just the biggest brain play from Heavy Impact, because they are really trying to take advantage of this. It's not stopping the fact that right now, kills are being picked up. Buds finding kills everywhere, and WildHeart also trying to bully out the members of Heavy Impact who are trying to evade their camp, but Heavy Impact are the ones who got the kill on Uther.
Eric goes down in the top lane to that Urel, but Heavy Impact just taking advantage of being able to ball up right here on level 2. They get the steal on this bottom camp, and WildHeart, they've been rotating well, they've been finding these kills, but it takes so many Vikings kills in order to add up to a hill of beans. We'll see what they can do with this bottom lane push.
I've never heard that phrase before. Is that an American? It's I've not
That's
heard.
pretty NA. That's pretty
Okay,
NA.
gotcha. I've never heard that. That sounds like something that would be British. Either way, that is fantastic. As we are seeing the Vikings playing much more defensively now. Olaf is literally porting. When was the last time you saw a Viking? One which, by the way, has health regen. Why? Olaf falls back to base. Gonna pull all the way back. Uther killed off again. The hyper engage of Heavy Impact are really trying to just pick up and farm kills with their numbers advantage due to Zeratul not being with the team as often as Bud's forced out by Infrared. Pick and focus down, and that's gonna be another kill to Heavy Impact. They are farming them.
Just a cloud of heroes over on the side of Heavy Impact swarming the members of WildHeart right now. And if we take a quick look over at the XP, Heavy Impact are ahead there as well. Nearly, over 1,000 experience ahead in the minions, over 1,000 ahead in the hero kills. Coming out swinging here is Heavy Impact. They're going to move right onto this early fort.
Black arrows will expire though, so they will run out of that push potential there. That's going to add a little bit of pressure. Not enough for the full channel as of yet, as we head in for the first objective. And look at those Viking positionings. Looks like they might be trying to go for a delay tactic. They're actually going for the double cap. Yorel has to react and move her way up here. Is Xenos going to react in time to save Eric? Yes, he will, as the brawl happens in the bottom lane, 4v4.
Vikings still interrupting top right, but the bottom side, we have WildHeart and Heavy Impact trying to find their positioning here. Zeratul is going to leak away for WildHeart. Weird A going to start the channel here. Eric taken out, and that means that WildHeart is going to get their top right altar. Heavy Impact focusing on this camp clear right now, knowing that they have the space to do it. They have the opportunity to delay with the Vikings on the double soak. It's really up to WildHeart to start these fights. Oh, the channel goes through.
Trying to do here, gets it. Slow reaction from WildHeart. Channel goes over to Heavy Impact, getting the 2-4-1 and the camp. Heavy Impact getting quite a bit of momentum here.
WildHeart now has to deal with this bottom lane camp push and the level 7s of Heavy Impact. They're about to get them themselves, but until then they're at a little disadvantage. There are the level 7s coming on through. Is it? Oh, Infrared is actually very low. Zergling coming around the backside here for WildHeart, trying to find a pick here. Going to knock back Roger. There's the stun. The Haunting Wave actually lasts long enough, and Roger escapes with less than 80 health there. Not what I was expecting. WildHeart not getting a lot done with that rotation.
Speaking of rotations, Xenos interrupting the rotations of WildHeart, just trying to slow them down, demount them as often as possible with that Eric. They've gone for Eric the Swift, but they have that mobility. Like you say, close fight with Roger barely escaping, but actually did struggle to land his cleave there. He was zoned out quite a bit and wasn't able to get the max damage off due to the positioning. As such, we did see that escape as Xenos trying to get away with 2 Vikings. Eric is fast, Olaf is not, but Olaf has a lot of that tankiness as we see Weary Day gonna brawl with him. Looks like they're just gonna decide to ignore the Viking though and trade out bell towers.
Mid fort actually being focused here by WildHeart, as bottom is going to go down to Heavy Impact. Not exactly a fort that you tend to see go down sometimes at all, but definitely in the early game here, Tetcher. That kind of cuts off the rotation power of Heavy Impact in some ways, but right now I feel like WildHeart is just looking for any kind of advantage they can get, because bottom lane ain't it.
Well, they're about to lose 8 shots on the core because they've given up every opportunity to try and contest them, to instead try and yeet out top lane. But we saw a token defense coming in from WildHeart, very nearly putting Tremor in a lot of danger here, but it's enough to delay even burning the cocoon to buy time on the hero with the highest attack speed. Zeratul grabs them a belt, grabs them a little bit of a Sapphire Cap, circling, gusted in, everyone else survives. Infrared zoned away, Eric somehow dies mid-fight there. Rest of the team will disengage though. And they're able to hold for now, but they lost 8 shots for what is a very minimal amount of damage. Valkyrie onto a very dead Beetle.
Somehow getting a Nubarak and not Olaf with that Valkyrie. Very nicely done. Olaf will eventually go down as well. And WildHeart are going to control all top forts and all mid forts. Bottom lane belongs to Heavy Impact, but we've got a little bit of a tilted map going on here, Tetcher.
do. Mid reclaimed by Heavy Impact to try and keep their momentum going that way. Baylog is literally proxying the opponent's wave. Boss started by WildHeart. This is just nonsensical compared to how you would normally play this map. Weary Day is now stacked on that Uther Autos. Baylog dies. Zeratul is hunted as that boss will go over. They gain 4 shots back. They'll reclaim bot lane as Zeratul begins to push it up, and the rest of the team will be able to rotate in and likely clear that up before the objective starts. Actually, positioning by Heavy Impact might shut that down.
Heavy Impact trying to guard this bottom tower. It is a double top lane altar here. And I've got to wonder if WildHeart is just, putting in some chaos into this game to just try to extend it as long as possible. Their big spike is at level 16. As we see Olaf going to be taken out, Eric goes down as well. And now it's Heavy Impact that are going to be giving up multiple shots here. They're going to send the sappers instead down through the bottom lane. Zeratul is stopping them though. So I feel like WildHeart is starting to come out ahead as we now see an engagement over this top altar.
Heavy Impact tried to go to strategy of grab those 2 sappers to keep someone down, get a man advantage, play again to bring back the Vikings and interrupt so that they could try and grab both themselves and prevent WildHeart getting value. Instead, WildHeart zoned them too effectively, grabbed their opponent's side, and now all they have to do is just defend and wait. But they are still outnumbered. Zeratul cleared out both the sappers and is making his way up. Heavy Impact, they haven't been able to capitalize on that small body advantage enough at all. But you see Cassia may have left the lane a little bit early here. They're forced to turn around and react as Weary Day tries to channel. Zeta is zoned away, and that will be the channel for WildHeart.
Eric almost had the interrupt, but it is going to be a channel for WildHeart. Heavy Impact forced to back up. They're going to try to take that top fort back as Olaf trapped between Weary Day and Zergling there. So with top being focused, we're going to see WildHeart move down to the bottom lane, try to grab their bottom fort back, and some sense of normalcy starting to return to the map here.
Cedar is trying to get away with that Baylog. Shots actually aggroed onto unaverted, forcing him to step a little bit far up. But Trevor, he's alone. He will not be engaging or capitalizing at this stage as, like you say, the map is turned back to normal. All 3 forts available for both teams. Engage onto Yarel. Has to burn Ardent Defender. It's a long cooldown to burn. That is 100% a worth engage for Heavy Impact.
That's a good heroic to bait out. There's not a fight to be going to just yet, but with it being, I think that's a 2-minute cooldown for Yarel, or if not, at least very close to it. It's, yeah, it's definitely something you want to bait out as often as possible if you can rotate through the mid. And with a Vikings comp, rotating through mid is something you can do fairly easily. But here's WildHeart looking for their own camp invade here. Before level 16, this is a little bit dicey.
They're trying to hold it. Hitkid's got good positioning. Zergling is the one on the point, and it looks like we're just going to see Heavy Impact let them have it, not wanting to take the risk of getting caught in that choke point versus Diablo, and a currently VP Zeratul who has yet to use VP. But even with that heroic cooldown, I kind of wish I would have seen Heavy Impact use pull the trigger there, making the most of the fact that that Undefender was on cooldown, but it would have been a 4 versus 5, as all they had was Baylog, and they probably didn't want to use that play again on that fight.
It is interesting that we haven't seen a big Void Prison. Maybe we'll see it here as we are now fighting over a single altar down in the bottom lane. Right now, Zeratul chasing out Olaf before rejoining the team. Zergling just charging up that hammer, looking to move into the back line. Xenaris is interrupting Pitkid's channel on this bottom altar. And both teams still, they're not going to find 16 delaying this. So I feel like Heavy Impact, if they're going to get it, they're going to have to interrupt it now as Baylog peeks out from the bush. Tremor's actually going to go in and find the double stun onto Unaverted. Cassia going to be okay, though. Zergling could be in a little bit of trouble. Does not have that cooldown for another 15 seconds. Yarel trying to back off. The D-Shield is going to have to be used as Baylog goes down. There's the Apocalypse going to stun just Eric. Now Pitkid in all sorts of trouble. The D-Shield comes out, is going to keep Diablo alive for now. Pitkid finally is going to go down here. That's a lot of low health bars on the side of WildHeart, but oh, Heavy Impact. They're going to try to move back in.
Bud's making the most of Wormhole, juking the Vikings, who managed to play again to the backline at the start of that fight. Bud, with no health and no mana, is just dropping everything they can to stay alive. Will finally die to Sylve. Roger juking and jiving as Weary Day tries to stay alive, but will get dropped. But that's honestly kind of the best thing that could happen. He was low on mana, can now heal them up, but numbers advantage has just gone very heavily in favor of Heavy Impact. Stun from Olaf with level 16 hit mid-fight, and Zergling nowhere to go. Damage set to a minimum, and they rely on body blocks to secure that Yrel kill. They're not channeling yet, delaying so they can grab this bell tower for the extra shot.
Heavy Impact going to be able to get 5 more shots here, but even on core health are our two teams. We saw that 16 spike from the Vikings now with Olaf coming in with the stuns. We're going to see 16 arrive, and now we're going to see Zeratul really start to cleave away on that back line. Kid chasing out the Baylog here. Looks like Xenaris is going to get away. Once again, WildHeart focusing on this top lane a little bit. Cassia clearing away the camp as Heavy Impact pushes through the mid.
You really did mention those power spikes here. Olaf's large and in charge, point and click stun onto Zeratul, potentially gives them actually a Viking way to counter Zeratul. They even went and jumped to actually build the anti-Zeratul build here. Very fun to see, but Zeratul now 40% extra damage if they hit more than one enemy hero against Vikings. Value, and a 3-second cooldown reduction is absolutely insane. We'll see if they can utilize that to try and take this. And once they're at level 20, the sustained Zeratul will get from Shadow Mending is going to make it probably game over, honestly.
Bottom tower is being held here by Heavy Impact. They're now in for the defense. Zeratul rotating up through the top lanes for WildHeart to try to find some extra picks. Sappers are on the way here, so WildHeart is a little bit trapped in this position. Got a 4v4 Infrared waiting on the side here, looking for a gust opportunity. WildHeart now has to deal with these sappers approaching the line.
Making their way in, the line is set by Pitkid trying to hold it back. Zergling even going to give them a knock. There's the gust into the corner. Cocoon onto Uther, quickly outfended by Unaverted. Very nice. And that will result in nothing. 2 cooldowns burned. Not a single heroic used by WildHeart, and an Eric kill. Why not? Add that on top. Everything went in WildHeart's favor there.
Setting up for this triple altar phase, 5 seconds until the spawn. Looks like WildHeart is going to abandon this bottom lane and try to trade these top 2. Zeratul waiting for an opportunity to take that top left altar. Baylog going with the play it again on the right-hand side. Baylog is going to go down here. The rest of the Vikings, maybe caught out. There goes Eric, there goes Olaf, and a full Vikings kill for WildHeart. And they have the opportunity to move over as the Valkyrie pulls 2.
Oh my god! Yes, no, it was a high five. We see on Mason plays, high-fiving Tremor. He was forced to follow the Valkyrie, pulling him directly into Pitkid. Unbelievable luck there for Unaverted, able to time that so well. They get the 2 kills, the full Viking wipe out of the Zeratul frying pan into the entire team fire with the play again of the Vikings. Boss gonna be taken, and WildHeart just capitalizing there. They're about to even up the core health, but Bot is being very heavily pressured by Heavy Impact.
Heavy Impact has done a great job controlling this bottom lane. Right now, they don't want to cap this bottom point just yet. They want to see where WildHeart is, and WildHeart is going to focus on that top fort. Heavy Impact not going to be able to respond in time. Instead, they're going to rotate through the mid to try to grab an extra building here.
They have Silver Black Arrows, they have Beetles with Burning Beetles, they have maximum possible race on this, but the reaction is forced out of WildHearts. That does buy them time top lane though, which is exactly what they want. They stay even here. They could have traded 1 for 1, no matter what. This went in their favor, and they delayed Yrel, meaning those sappers are pushing in bot lane, but they will make it in time to stop them making it over the wall. Just in time, look, all the minions died there. They literally made that within the last second.
Last second save there by WildHeart. You see Heavy Impact once again setting up shop onto this bottom keep. This could not be more even here, Tetron. Even towards level 20, even on core health. Though Heavy Impact, they're definitely ahead in the building race.
Absolutely. We're going to see another kill. Zeratul picking up kills all across the map. And with that, they secure top lane. Phelps is going to fly in to try and get Buds out of this. Buds the VP. That's worth it. Minions will finish the job here. That one ranged minion still targeting the fort. That is enough to continue to even up the structures here. Mid is basically dead for WildHeart, but it's still alive now, and that's all they need with level 20 advantage. They chase down Heavy Impact, grab the sappers. They're potentially going to try it and push their way through, maybe grab another altar. No, they're just going to trade it out and just get the 4 shots.
Bud's going to grab this channel here for WildHeart. That's going to be 4 shots as we see WildHeart moving to the mid now. Focusing down this fort. Xenaris on the Olaf waiting for another stun, but here comes the rest of Heavy Impact on the flank. WildHeart is trying to back up. Valkyrie is going to stun the Anubarak, but look at the Mighty Gust. It's going to be a group D shield here for WildHeart. They try to move it and get value. Not a lot done, though. Eric is going to be the first to fall. Uther getting taken out of that cocoon. Anubarak is going to go down along with Balog here, and Zeratul is starting to really cleave into Heavy Impact. That's a full Vikings kill. What's that, 17 Vikings that went down through all those play it agains?
It was 5. Oh my god,
Viking
full
kills.
Resets there.
Along with
Very
Anubarak.
nicely done. Burning the level 20 play again, and Zeratul's seconds, don't mind if I do. Isolating that kill, WildHeart just dominating in this late game.
Zergling still does have that Ardent Defender, so can hang around there 1v3 for a while, but top structure does go down. We're going to see WildHeart pushing through the bottom lane. They don't have their own bottom lane for it. Oh, Yrel actually taken out on the chase, unexpected, as Ardent Defender was not used. Looks like the Wailing Arrow from Sylvanas was, so that was probably why that didn't go down. But WildHeart control the bottom left. They're going to try to come back and get the bottom right keep, as Heavy Impact just rotating around trying to even out this map again.
Weirdly enough, Yrel's cooldown for dying is shorter than the cooldown for Ardent, so one can make a value worth. But in this case, Yrel is not going to be up for a solid 17 seconds after the objective spawns. So even though the structures will be even up for both teams, numbers advantage is going to be very heavily in favor of Heavy Impact, especially as play again is 10 seconds out, meaning that they could have a grand total of at least 7 Vikings total in these fights, as Xenaris is focused down. Sorry, 6 Vikings in these fights. They could technically cast it right before they die and then die.
Sylvanas going to get the first channel here for Heavy Impact. That means we're going to be fighting over this mid lane. Cassia is going to be cocooned, allowing the rest of Heavy Impact to start to move up here. Mighty Gust, unaverted, is going to need a D-shield to get on out of there. Yrel takes the portal back in, and we are going to have ourselves a full team fight here. Back to 10-10 on the core health. Xenaris found in the bush. That's going to be Eric going down. Olaf starting to back up. VP onto 2 members. Apoc comes on out and gonna hit 2. Unstoppable from Lucio, gonna save 1. Anubarak is separated out, but look at the health bars on WildHeart. Zeratul killed by the Vikings. Heavy Impact starting to heal up with those Lucio heals over time. And WildHeart, they're not going to be able to stick around for much longer. They're going to try to get a couple more interrupts here. But without Zeratul, that's a lot of their backline power taken away.
The high five just in time from Lucio to avoid that apocalypse, allowing them to turn that fight around. The Vikings already burning play again, just decide to go in anyway. Black Arrow is burned. There is no defensive advantage here for WildHeart other than the fountain, but it's enough. All they needed to do was delay for Balog to channel, and they do that. 6 health left on the core of WildHeart, a very low mid fort. This is looking good for Heavy Impact as they set themselves up to try and close this out on the next objective.
Heavy Impact going to rotate through the mid here. Boss up and available once again. WildHeart going to hang around here. They're just going to go ahead and rip it, but Tremor is here. WildHeart can't pull it off a 3rd time. WildHeart wants to get a fight over this boss, but with no Zeratul, they're in all sorts of trouble. Mighty Gust comes on out, unaverted, being chased away by Balog. D-Shield is going to be forced onto Uther, so we do get a retreat. Is Heavy Impact going to go after this boss here? They're thinking about letting it leash. Buds, not going to let it leash just yet. WildHeart is coming on through to try this again.
They're trying to zone them away. They're going to try and let Buds on the backline finish it off, and no, they turn around and instead go in for the fight. Big Wailing Arrow catches multiple members. Remember, no D-Shield in this fight. Big stun from Xenaris cleansed out by Weary Day. Apoc, VP, perfectly timed that time. Goodbye, Volstan, as Tremor is eaten through this fight. He will stay alive. They will heal up. They do have a fountain here, but the cooldown is so high. Boss is doable, but it's much more important to set up for the objective. They could try and tease mid, but it looks like they just want the double channel, so they try and farm some Vikings instead.
Olaf taken down here. We see Eric in the mid, thinking about moving up to try to reduce the shot value by taking out that mid fort, but Zeratul's going to get the back channel here. The rest of WildHeart just trying to survive until Zeratul gets that back channel. Eric going up for the interrupt is going to get it, but will likely pay the price. But Heavy Impact, they're really stuck in this corridor, and without Falstad to bully their way back in, I don't know if Heavy Impact can stay here much longer.
Play again was burned, delaying Zeratul. They even go in for the backfight, but that means the Vikings are very isolated. The second revive has already been burned. This is all the Vikings we will get. The fight very split. Eric is burned, and Zeratul goes back in for the channel again. But Eric continues to hold Balog delays, but finally the ranged Vikings are gone, meaning this channel will go to Zeratul. Now it's all about that left-hand ultra. Cena is still delaying. There's the gust from the side, isolating Pitkid and circling, but the defender buys them the time they need.
Pitkid stuck in the cocoon is going to be taken out there. The Vikings finally all going down. WildHeart trying to get the channel here, trying to put the game very close as there's a haunting wave from Sylvanas. Heavy Impact isn't done just yet. Silence Arrow comes out as well. This channel is just going to keep going on here. Puds, oh no, doesn't get the VP. Very low on the back line. Going to have to require Weary Day to come on through to find the save. And what a turn of events. There's the Apocalypse now definitely going to be forcing out Heavy Impact. Anubarak is pulled in. This could be big trouble. A giant Group D shield is going to take out Anubarak. 2 core health left. And with the tank down, WildHeart is thinking about a boss play. Oh, this is going to be tough. Vikings are back on the field. Oh, it's a bait! The Hellcake goes in, and there goes Lucio. Falstad could be next here. Pitkid trying to get away. Was on so low health.
Still from over the wall. Pitkid needs to be careful. Surprise Viking flank.
Oh my goodness. No, the plate again's going to bring him back.
Oh, Zeratul. He's fighting Falstad. There's the gust into the depth zone right on the lip. Infrared gets the kill. They've delaying it. WildHeart are trying to end this, but Heavy Impact won't let them. The Vikings are back. But down goes Olaf again, but they've stopped the boss. Round 2 boss is started though, Zeratul, but there are 2 dead on the side of Heavy Impact. They have Falstad coming back in. No gust. Oh, no. It's down to a full team fight here. The Vikings trying to flank, trying to delay. They have no securing here. All they can do is kill, but Valkyrie secures the kill, and that will likely be game over.
Xenar is still working on the edges here. Eric desperately trying to move back onto the point. Roger is still very high health on that Sylvanas. Tremor's coming on through. Finds the stun, but Pitkid pushes him off the point. Still trying to contest here. Uther is down. Sylvanas is down. Tremor is flipped off the point. WildHeart in such a thriller picks up the 3rd game. GG.
Oh, what a game! Back and forth between these 2 teams, and for the 2nd game in a row, Zoning Apocalypse has won WildHeart a game. Unbelievable that they've managed to do that twice, with the Zoning Apocalypse from Pitkid allowing finally Zeratul to get that aggressive channel on the 2nd altar to set up that lethal. The Vikings, so annoying, right until level 20. Where they had to be that backline assassin, and the second that was a thing, it was so easy for WildHeart to start turning around and killing them.
My goodness. Jinxie, I gotta get your thoughts on that one.
Oh my, I wasn't even playing and I was angry. Xenaris, just an absolute mad lad going in there. You know, we're seeing 9 Vikings deaths. The amount of value and stall and constant aggression coming in. We look at the towns here, and of course, no surprise, we went that checkpoint reach, getting those Vikings back. So every single team fight, we're seeing, you know, between 2 and 6 Vikings going down during those fights. Absolutely unbelievable. And on the other hand, you know, you have WildHeart, which, first of all, congratulations, they have a Zeratul win between NGS, between the Storm Division and CCL. They're now 1 and 6.
A lot.
So yeah, not bad for them. The Group D shield, you know, what an amazing play there at the end. Really coming in clutch. Just like, my fingers hurt trying to keep track of all of that.
That was so insane. so insane. The Zeratul picking off in those fights, like you say, the Group D shields. I think the big underrated thing we have to talk about here is potentially those Valkyries. That's what got them back into the game in the early stages, being able to grab people in those early fights. A lot of the time, Nubarak, they never Valkyried a Viking. Not once that entire game that I noticed. It was always a high-value target and almost always prioritized, including the one we talked about earlier, the super unlucky high 5 Valkyrie play. For those who don't know, high 5 only cleanses you when you reach your target with Lucio. So Lucio was just equally as boned trying to come in to save a Nubarak when he was pulled all the way in with that high 5, because you can't cancel that. Once you're committed, you are committed.
It was, I mean, I thought I was looking at a bug. I'm like, did Valkyrie just pull 2 people? And that was a good catch on that high 5 skating on through. Unbelievable stuff there. We're getting our next lobby ready, but after such a thriller, we're going to take a very short break, get everyone hydrated, get everyone settled, so don't go far. We'll be right back with game number 4.
Alrighty, welcome back, folks. Thanks so much for sticking around with us. We're getting to game number 3 in our best of 5 series. This could be where WildHeart takes it all. They're up in the series so far. Now we're heading to Infernal Shrines.
Will we have our first ever 3-1 between these two teams? Every time they fought each other in the actual division, Storm Division, it has been a 3-2. So if history is to go by, heavy impact of winning this. They have a very solid win rate on Infernal as well. It's 80% to 75%. They actually have a higher win rate than WildHeart, but it's very close between these two teams. There's easily an opportunity for Heavy Impact to bring it back, but WildHeart could close it out. It's a good map for them.
It is a strong map overall. There is the chance for macro shenanigans. Not quite the, to the level that we saw there on Battlefield of Eternity with having to choose between the objective and the lane push, but you can get some work done with good camp timings with extended fights. So I'm really excited to see if WildHeart goes with that macro style once again, or if they're just going to lean into the team fight that, that seemed to do them well there in game number 3.
Absolutely. As we head on in, it looks like everybody is back and ready to go. Now, both teams really love this map. This is the most picked map by both WildHeart and Heavy Impact. They have definitely different ways of playing. The big question is, guys, do you think Sonya is going to get through this time?
Nope.
Can't see it happening.
It's potentially her best map. She and Hogger, I think, are both just get them out of here. They're so high priority. Unless one of these teams wants them for that reason, but if that's the case, we should immediately be seeing bans from the other team. I don't think they're making it through just because of how dangerous they are. Sonya is one of 4 heroes who can just 100% very quickly solo the objective. Hogger, 2 out of the 3 objectives have an infinite bounce, and the one that doesn't has a very close to infinite bounce. So you're just going to have a bad time if you let him through. For now, though, that is reasonable. Even though it was on their own side, they don't want to give it over as Lucio was taken out.
Yeah, the Lucio Uther trade in the last matchup didn't quite go their way. They're not going to try it again here as we see Hogger banned out. Now, Infernal Shrines, we're talking about Sonya and Hogger being banned away. Do we think D.Va is going to be a high priority or a priority at all here?
It's definitely a good map.
Definitely see D.Va and Deckard are 2 heroes that we really see come out on Infernal Shrines just for their ability to zone. In fact, I think in the past we've seen WildHeart hand over Sonya to get that D.Va.
I believe
Not
you
today.
are correct. We're going to see that Sonya taken out. They've run Yorel on this map a few times, but like you say, that D.Va is so strong and so impactful so often, so it wouldn't be surprising to me to see her picked up. And they have run her on maps that aren't Infernal too, so there's plenty of potential for them here. D.Va just gives so much objective control, so much zoning. It's going to be interesting to see.
Right now, Uther and Medivh both up and available. I've got to think it's an Uther ban. Can it be a Stukov ban? Very interesting. We haven't seen Stukov at all in this series. This is the first appearance here in game number 4 in the ban phase. So now Heavy Impact, they've got some choices to make. The Mei is up and available. Malfurion as well. And of course, you've got your Medivh and your Uther. You know, it's a pick your poison scenario right now.
Very true.
Go ahead and grab that Uther. So Bud's maybe looking to take up the Medivh. It's one of those things that we've heard these guys talk about time and time again. Uther, Medivh, they go hand in hand the same way that Sonya and Hogger do. And as we say that, Bud's going to grab the Medivh and the Malfurion going over to Weary Day. Another great zone control support.
Gotta pick up that Malfurion if you are picking up those early picks here, because when you talk about double support heroes for the Uther, the highest priority these days is Lucio, second is Stukov, and third would be Malfurion. So you gotta make sure you remove that last big value. There are still some other supports that could fit in that role, but in this case, you gotta remove those high priorities because Uther stun into Malfurion, root and sleep is just so deadly. Very smart play, but immediately, we talked about it. It's going over to Heavy Impact this time. They are going to be the ones to pick up that Diva for great race on the objective. Cassia, that hyper carry worth of damage, and another potential isolation hero. And if not, Ball Lightning really out damages Malfurion.
It's an interesting scenario that Heavy Impact are in now. The Mei is up and available, but that would mean they'd be forced to go into a solo support Uther, which could definitely still be the plan. But, you know, they could, you know, it'll be tough to go into Mei and another support here, so Heavy Impact is definitely going to have to choose a lane. Banning away the Diablo with Medivh and Malfurion up, there's really not much other than to do there in that spot.
If they maybe look to go for another heavy engage tank, like the Anubarak could be really strong going in there. Otherwise, looking potentially take the Mei for themselves and further go for that, you know, just chomp down on that portal control. But Leo coming out for Zergling. Now, do we think this is a Zergling Leo, or do we think this is going to be the world famous Pit Kid main tank Leoric?
I mean, it works into Uther. It's a good setup. I mean, the Hanzo Dragon Strike with the Entomb is a tried and true combination. You can do it from the offlane and you can do it from the main tank position, so WildHeart is really threatening either one.
Ooh.
It's going to be a Maiev and a Deckard. Some good control and zoning from Heavy Impact here. What does this last pick look like?
I don't think we're going to be seeing main tank Leo because of this. There's now just so much disorientation on that front line, so much zoning. It's going to force Leo to use his escape to hard engage push. I think we're more likely to see what Jinx suggested earlier with a Mei, or in this case a Zul, someone who can clear very quickly and keep the areas quite zoned. The Poison Nova could give them enough damage to try and deal with the Deckard Uther because neither one has great sustain healing. So this should be alright, especially as now there are basically 4 melee heroes on the side of Heavy Impact. So running that Zul into it is going to be solid. The best counter that we see from Heavy Impact here is Deckard stun. And is Uther stun, and later game Deckard stun. And that's not ideal because it's not a huge duration. And with the Malfurion Medivh combo, it might just be invincible with that full tank Zul build. I think I'm leaning very heavily in favor of WildHeart here, as much as I really like Heavy Impact's draft. Medivh, Malfurion, Zul? I don't think they can do anything about it, and if they can't get past that, then Hanzo just wins. He just pokes forever, and they can't do anything about it.
Tough one to be sure as we load in to our game number 4. Make sure I find the camera, and we'll go ahead and get started.
That was like a camera to me. As we head
on the left, there we go. Let's go into the game. On the left in the blue, looking to save their run here is Heavy Impact. Roger on the Cassia, Infrared is on the Deckard, Tremor playing the Uther, Xenaris on the Diva, and Mason Blaze is playing the Maiev.
And on the right-hand side, in the red trunks, 1 game away from victory, it shall be WildHeart Esports with Zergling on the Leoric, Pit Kid on Zul, aka Justin. Buds is going to be on the Birds. He's playing the Medivh. Weary Day on Malfurion, and Unaverted is playing Hanzo. We're getting started. Tremor immediately stunning out Zergling, but no immediate hard engage, especially as with that Maiev, they're going to have a lot of damage, but that damage isn't the highest early game level. We're going to want to try and isolate people first at this early stage of the game.
It's like WildHeart just going ahead, trying to move up and clear this wave to be on their way. But right now, the brawl is just going to continue here. Buds and Tremor dueling it out on the bottom side. And starting up the rotations here are both of our squads as Leoric and D.Va will be banished to the offlane.
Off they go. This is a matchup that Leo is really solidly able to win as long as he lands his Drain Hope. It's really about Xenaris just trying to outplay in this case and try and dodge it. Lots of damage onto unaverted. Very nearly dropping down at this early stage. Portals to dodge the Lightning Fury. But yeah, D.Va will lose this lane pretty early on. It will get better as the game goes on, and if they go to double soaking, it will get better. The idea is basically just dashing to dodge away from those Leo Drain Hope, or at least somehow sidestepping them, which is harder to do because Leoric is able to take advantage of D.Va's slowed movement speed when she's auto-attacking, and that's where we'll try and see the value being gained. Also interesting, even with Uther being effectively the main tank here, we're going with a Q-based build, which makes sense because he's running into the attack speed slow of this hero, Zool, who is currently focused down. Force of Will, though, staying alive and backing out.
I'm just trying to find the observer camera again. There we go. I accidentally nudged the screen. I'm awful.
No, it happens. We've all been there. It happens. As we're going to be continuing on right now. Bot camp going to be started by the members of Heavy Impact as it's mirrored on the side by WildHeart for their own camp.
Heavy Impact going to control this bottom side. See WildHeart doing the same on the right. And yeah, this early game definitely favoring Heavy Impact right now. One thing I'm going to be looking out for in terms of WildHeart's plan is timing out possible ganks onto D.Va. The mini game of trying to bait out the bomb here on Infernal Shrines is very, very important and a big part of the power of Heavy Impact's composition. So we're going to have to see what WildHeart's movements look like as we prepare for our first objective.
Paralyzing Rage coming out from the Leoric, by the way, increasing the skeletal swing slow. Now, normally we would see a big commitment to the Neil Peasants from Leoric at level 4 to help with wave and shrine clear, but in this case, that's a big commitment to team fight. Keep them slow means that they're inside Zool's attack range for longer, meaning Zool stays alive and gets more attack damage off and more damage reduction off once he gets that weaken at level 13. Level 16. So very interesting to see that adjustment from the Leoric, committing also to team fight style. On the Maiev though, we're sticking pretty normal. Sudden Vengeance, percentage damage, just eat the front line.
Leoric has come down here. WildHeart and Heavy Impact completely committing to this objective. Mason Blaze with a giant pull. Medivh trying to find the save, but Malfurion still going to go down here. Great engage by Heavy Impact. They've got a solid lead on these minions as we see Leoric still dueling away in the backline of Heavy Impact, but it looks like this objective solidly in the hands of the blue team here.
Zergling last one on the point, will be forced to back away. Like you say, Heavy Impact will get the objective. Leo goes down. Buds, by the way, in that fight had the choice of shielding himself or Malfurion, and he chose himself. One might consider that a selfish mood, but I will remind you, stacks. In this case, it's worth. Once you have the stacks, it's time to feed. But until then, stacks more than the objective, stacks more than the kill, stacks more than your own stats. As we do see the route onto Weary Day, but it's a good pull on the Punisher. It will be killed off before it gets too much damage on the fort.
Zergling just living inside the team of Heavy Impact there, not allowing anyone to step up and aid in this siege. Nice job by Zergling, putting on the pressure there. Zool kind of split off and doing a bit of double soaking, and that's the flexibility of WildHeart's draft here, and maybe why we saw Leoric feel the need to not go into that Neil Peasants. As Xenaris in trouble in this top lane. Zergling coming on through did not find the slow, but with the boosters available, D.Va is going to escape.
You bring up a really good point. This is something that WildHeart have done before. When they have run Leo in that main tank role with the maximum Drain Hope build, and they just basically had Zool. And this is how I feel the Heat used to do in Europe as well, where they would have main tank Zool, but because Zool had a faster wave clear than Leo, even with Neil Peasants, they just put Zool in the offlane for a bit until he had full main tank build, which really comes online at level 13 and then gets a big power spike at level 16. So it makes a lot of sense, really, to just put Zool up there for the time being while they have time. For now, though, they brought him down and they're going to try and set up the kill on Katia, which they do.
That portal into Bone Prison is so brutal. brutal. What a combination there. I mean, the balance around Bone Prison is it's a short-range ability. But when you've got a Medivh portal to just send you into the back line, that's got to feel bad if you're Heavy Impact right now.
Absolutely, just an insta-target every single time. But they do now have the ability to try and keep them alive a little bit better here. They've got Divine Shield and Stay a While and Listen, both good zoning abilities. See what they can do with it. Leo needs to be careful here as Maiev is making their way up there as well. Lands the tether, but Wraithwalk, goodbye. It is Dragon Strike, by the way. You called it at the start of the game. Dragon Strike Entomb combo, the Enter the Dragon Dojo, as we are seeing a good old-fashioned style of play.
One thing to note about that combination, yes, it can be saved by that Uther Divine Shield, but the combo itself has a much lower cooldown than Divine Shield. So if WildHeart can get these extended fights and force out a D-Shield, maybe off of a Leyline or off of a Poison Nova, which has been picked up by Zool, they can play this combo on over and over again, and Heavy Impact will not have enough saves to deal with it.
A 30-second time difference at the max stats here for that Dragon Strike, which will, of course... Ooh, Valkyrie being safe in the terrain. Good positioning by Inverted. As the Mortar's Cage comes out, Twilight Dream for the counter, but the anti-heal absolutely melts him. Mouth goes down, but Dragon Strike cleaned it up there. Cassie is dead. Infrared barely survives. Uther keeping the healing going. Ends up being a 1-for-1 trade. Dragon Strike cleaning up.
Uh-oh, Zergling coming on through. It's not done yet for Tremor. Buds is here as well. That's going to be Uther going down. Just trading away for these kills. Mason Blaze gets the shade away. Wow. Unaverted somehow stays alive there. They find a counter kill as now we see WildHeart have priority onto this objective.
Very smart. They're just going to get the head start. Even without Neo Peasants, you're just seeing how quickly Leo can kill this just due to the fact that his auto attacks cleave. Second Zool shows up though. Zool does it better. Let him go. Let him take control. So yeah, 30-second difference between the Dragon Strike and the Divine Shield at this level. Once we get to level 20, if they decide to go, instead of Bullseye, for that Enter the Dragon from the Hanzo, then they can get 50-second cooldown in Tombs, and easily the same, if not less, on Dragon Strike for Hanzo with this full Scatter Arrow build, as every Scatter Arrow and auto attack at level 20 will reduce the cooldown.
Objective is claimed here. WildHeart had to send Leo to the top lane to deal with that push that Heavy Impact was putting on. The wall still a little bit healthy here. Good wave clear, but not exactly the greatest building siege on the side of WildHeart, so they're going to get pushed back a little bit. Heavy Impact still dealing with this Punisher as it makes his way all the way out into lane. Weary Day gets a giant silence. There's a Poison Nova as well. Buds is going to get rooted. Dragon Strike coming on out. There's the Valkyrie, not going to land though. Roger's still looking on the edge here as Tremor is going to go down. Uther going down first, not that big a deal, but can WildHeart turn this around? There's the portal. Pit Kid wants Mason Blaze here.
Good blinds by Roger, keeping the team alive. Diva loses the mech, but everyone else gets out. Uther, the only one to die, and if anyone's going to die on this team, it should be Uther to get that extra healing. Mech has to be re-dropped. Xenorus does have self-destruct, decides not to burn it here. The fort would have still died. Save it for later. Medivh did get stacked, and as such was able to drop Force of Will onto Zool in that fight, which is what allowed them to push in very heavily and take out Uther.
Right now, Heavy Impact, they're going to have to give away this camp. They're going to have to, you know, with that bottom fort down, it's very, very difficult to move out, even to the mid lane on the map here. So Heavy Impact are going to be looking for their opportunities, just trying to stay even on experience until the objective allows them to get back onto the map here.
Siege camp being taken. Sorry, Sapper camp. My brain's still on Tomb of the Spot, still on Towers. For that game was so intense. Siege camp being started by WildHeart, but will be abandoned here. They lost vision on a couple members of Heavy Impact, so they're not going to take the risk, especially as a couple people are still in top lane. They do find D.Va on the rotation. They're actually going to drop the Entomb. They're trying to force out the self-destruct, but Xenorus is being patient. He'd rather lose the mech than the self-destruct at this stage, which is a good idea. Fantastic stay a while. Tether into the cage, baby! But that is a good Dragon Strike to split the team in two. Massive kill on Uther. Mech's back with self-destruct, but they can't chase them down. WildHeart get away with the portal. One kill for nothing.
somehow sustaining through that with a Medivh and a Malfurion. That heavy impact got everything that they wanted there, but they just could not find the kills. Infrared gonna find Pitkid there, but Buds is coming in for possibly the save. There's the portal, the root coming out. Is it gonna be enough? Xenaris, oh, nice root from Malfurion. That's gonna secure the escape for Pitkid.
Pitkid gonna be able to heal up now. Malfurion will top him off with the sustain. And these Twilight Dreams are definitely a big shout out here for this Malfurion. This has been a big part of their saving grace, Weary Day keeping people alive by silencing out the hard engage. And Zul has now full tank build. This level 20, a little bit less relevant here, but he now has Weaken. 35% less damage to everyone hit by Curse Strikes or Skeletal Warriors for 3 seconds. This is what makes Tank Zul so viable in the late game. Early games it's fine just with the sustain from that Harvest Vitality and Rapid Harvest, but once you have this, if you are in range of that Zul, if you're in range of that Zul, and he's able to get those melees off on you, you are basically a non-factor in this fight, and with so much melee on the side of Heavy Impact, this might just be over now that talent's in play.
WildHeart getting those swipes on top of the objective. Heavy Impact wants to get as many of these minions down as possible so they can make use of that D.Va mech explosion. Pitkid into the backline, finds the Bone Prison onto the Cassia. There's the D.Va mech forcing WildHeart to back up. Uh-oh, Zul in trouble there, is going to go down. The bomb is going to be delayed. Dragon Strike not going to land onto the members of Heavy Impact. There's the Entomb coming on out from Zergling, and Heavy Impact, they're going to keep chasing here.
There's a thing back in, trying to hold Valkyrie, doesn't catch Hanzo for the entire duration. Twilight Dream comes out, but Zergling still focused down. Beautiful use of the self-destruct and the root of Infrared to hold Zul in place to stop him using the portal to escape. So he made his way in, landed his combo, and was then all alone with nothing left to do. He couldn't retreat back to his team. There was a self-destruct in the way. No portal, he's isolated, he's killed, and with no front line, we see WildHeart lose the fight, lose 2 members, and lose the Punisher, which is now going to easily take out mid-4, as this is a frozen Punisher.
D.Va has to clear up that bottom lane for Heavy Impact, so only 4 members pushing in here. Leoric is coming up for that mid lane defense, but Medivh dealing with the top lane. There's the bait over the wall. WildHeart going to try to clear this away. Dragon Strike to zone away. The members have Heavy Impact, and it looks like WildHeart will come up with the defense here. But Heavy Impact fighting their way back onto this map, making this very even at this point in the game.
Xena is trying to clear out the Bruiser, keep those forts alive, as we have finally seen the forts even out. That very early bot lane kill. Oh, that was a very nearly a big beating there. Entomb is dropped. Roger so focused down. They dodge the root of Deckard. Roger will be able to get away from Zergling. Looks like we'll just see a disengage.
Looked like more, less of a planned engage, more of a, hey, look what I found. Not quite finding the kill there. But WildHeart going to aggress onto the Heavy Impact side of the map here and try to take out another fort here in the top lane, or at least fish for something else. Right now, D.Va is still off-soaking. Medivh is coming up to join the rest of WildHeart. Heavy Impact, they're in a little bit of a precarious spot here.
Gotta be careful if they are fishing here. Tremor stepping up to get those holy shocks. Eats a lot of damage in doing so. They do have a way to fish. They have that Valkyrie on Roger here, but this could be a case of fishing for Cod and finding Cthulhu. As we see Uther taken out. This will heal up Roger. Entomb is dropped. Dragon Strike, but he sneaks out the side. Able to escape with Leyline, allowing Medivh to Deck and try and turn around, but he's completely isolated. He killed off in his backline as Roger is forced to retreat along with that Maiev. That was a 5v4 won by WildHeart. But in the meantime, D.Va did take out bot 4 and is still pushing, but there's a keep about to die. D.Va has to come home.
D.Va going to have to come on back and try to come through with this defense with Zul's extended and quickened strikes. All of a sudden, the siege damage looking a whole lot better on the side of WildHeart as Bud's setting up a portal, thinking about moving past here. There's still 2 members down on the side of Heavy Impact, so WildHeart is definitely going to keep up the pressure. This keep may not be long for this world here, Captain.
Diverting power, trying to buy some time. Self-destruct nearly ready for D.Va. The keep barely alive. Self-destruct going to be burned. This will save the keep long enough for Deckard to come back. And that will be the cue for WildHeart to leave. Keep lives, but this is the lane. The next Punisher's coming in. Oh, unaverted. Quick reaction times there to escape the Valkyrie.
Really nicely done. Valkyrie, I mean, it catches itself on a lot of terrain a lot of the time, but that looked like a pretty good line. Nice cyber agility coming on out from the Hanzo. This top lane shrine, this is a fantastic spot for WildHeart. They still have their top fort, and then more importantly, their top well in play. So Heavy Impact going to try to push out the bottom lane with some extra camps to make sure that this top objective isn't their last.
The Dragon Awakens picked up for Hanzo. Massive damage. The big sustain talent for Zul. Andreal's Visage. We have, by the way, the Leo going for Burning Despair, giving himself a potentially the widest Burning Rage in the game, and 40 armor while he is using his Drain Hope, which is very good. The most interesting talent, though, Arcane Brilliance. Medivh, 200 mana to all nearby allies and 15% spell power for 10 seconds. Combine that with Andreal's Visage or Dragon Strike, and that is deadly. Is this a base race? They're thinking about it. No one's porting yet. The Keep's gonna die. Both teams starting. Zergling's on the core. Xenorus is delaying, and this is gonna force the port. They don't think they can win this against Cassia. WildHeart, their ports are being interrupted by D.Va. Is this going to be Heavy Impact sneaking a win? Even Zergling's porting back.
WildHeart trying to get back to base here. Core shielding is gone. Buds is here to try to find this defense. There's Infrared, going to be saved by the D-Shield, and a big sleep. Core down to 70%. The Dragon Strike is out. Uther is the first to fall here. Buds is going to go down, though. Medivh is taken out. There's a camp and a catapult laying damage to the Core. Pit Kid trying to get away here with that Zul ult. Core down to 55%. Can Heavy Impact continue? They're all so low.
They gotta commit, though. Punisher's on the core with catapults. They have to make something happen. Uther's already used his revive once, but down goes Roger. Xenorus, he's going in alone. He's gonna try and end it. Mason Blaze dives deep, but the core on the other side is going down. The Punisher is gonna eat it. And WildHeart, despite the valiant defense attempt and valiant delay attempt by D.Va, are able to take the game and the series. WildHeart Esports are your Season 2 Storm Division champions.
What a call from Heavy Impact there to go for it. They decide they're not going to be able to win that objective. They're too far pushed back. If they lose the objective, they don't think they can come through with the defense, so they make the hard call, and that almost worked. 33% on the core. What an effort, what a call, but WildHeart coming up big with the defense and pulls out the victory. Incredible stuff.
You're unmuted.
I am muted. You are right. It's a good thing most of it was just me gasping, but absolutely a heck of a fight. One thing I would say is I would have liked to see Heavy Impact commit to it, because what's the worst thing that happens? You guys all die on the core and you lose the game. Already a Punisher and the catapult on the core. So if you port, what happens? You port and you lose the game. It was already at 50% when they started dying. You had to commit to the race. Unfortunately, hindsight is 2020, especially when you're watching, everybody's moves. So big congratulations to WildHeart Esports. They played absolutely out of their mind, and I can't think of a more deserving team after the incredible season they pulled off.
What a series, just back and forth between the two teams. That game could have very easily gone in favor of Heavy Impact. Those delays from Xenorus were money. If that Valkyrie had landed, that could have been game over right then and there. The Uther getting that revive. But what it came down to in the end, because they were all looking actually reasonably healthy, is the talent we just talked about before that happened. Arcane Brilliance for Medivh being dropped onto Zul, who dropped an Andreal's Visaged Poison Nova with 10% extra spell power and 15% extra spell power and just ate the members of Heavy Impact. And by that point, they were too low to go back in because they didn't have the sustain healing across Uther and Decade.
It was just, everything had to go perfectly on that level 20 defense. I cannot believe the value that Poison Nova got. Like, everyone on Heavy Impact was looking great, and all of a sudden everyone is at 10% health. It was just, What an effort there from Heavy Impact. They try to move in. They had the zone coverage. Maiev cleaving away with those fan of knives. But, I mean, you got to give it to WildHeart. A huge defense in the face of what looked like a sneak core ending, and they pick up the win. I don't know what else to say about it. Incredible work.
Not too much to say. I recognize that Cassiette was an absolute beast on the core. They ported as opposed to looking for the end. They said, you know what? Punisher can probably do it. You don't have game time here right now, but still like 20, 22-minute Punisher, I believe. That's a really strong big boy. You can leave that to end. So great call on their part. Great series. Are we gonna see if we can get them in to chat a little bit about their big money win?
Yeah, if you can see if they're willing to come on through for an interview so I can keep the cams up and running for just a little bit longer here. We'll see if we can get WildHeart on the line for a winner's interview. But, wow. I mean, there wasn't a stomp anywhere in this series.
No.
Just solid games all the way through. It really showed the history of these two teams. 2 sets going to 5 games. These players are, they're not just playing against each other here at NGS. They're in houses together. They're, just doing scrims together. They're meeting each other in all sorts of different ways. So, like, the internal metagame between these two is as strong as any teams that we've seen here in Storm Division. What a matchup. What a matchup.
Was absolutely insane. Oh, do we have something?
Yes, we have Zergling in lobby too, if we'd all like to join them there.
Alrighty, I'll fix the cams and I'll meet you there in just a moment.
Alrighty.
See you in a sec. I'll leave when you say we're good. Looks like we're good.
We're on the way. Alrighty, here we are. We've got Zergling from WildHeart. Congratulations on the 3-1 victory.
Thanks.
How are you guys feeling after that series? Because that seemed like it was really intense. The whole time, it never felt like anybody could really dominate the other team.
Good.
Alright, I have a question about game number 1 to start us off. What was up with Asmo main tank?
He dunk, he stack, we win.
And what went wrong to make the we win part not happen?
He dunk, he stack, he missed dunk, we lose.
Alrighty.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Tough one on Tomb there. I mean, the plan was clear. Azmodan was stacked like crazy there in the early game. Just couldn't quite bring it through with that Medivh. But going through the rest here, a clean sweep on the next 3 from WildHeart. Tell me about the difference between the 2 Medivh drafts for our first 2 games. It seemed like a little bit more traditional there on Battlefield of Eternity.
I mean, Medivh's was broken. We were just gonna take it with whatever. There was no set traditional draft for Medivh. We just think he's busted, and them not banning it and not picking it just lets us have it for free. Then we just play like we have a Medivh. So there wasn't really a draft set in mind. We just drafted what we thought was good.
Makes sense. Your opponents ended up in game number 2 running a Mal'Ganis off lane. How prepared were you for that? Because that's definitely a little bit less usual these days.
I thought it was kind of cool by them. Their whole idea that we couldn't take a portal out was really annoying. They had so much displacement in CC and sleeps and everything else. It was extremely annoying. So we didn't get much value out of the Medivh pick, but I think picking Mal'Ganis, we kind of realized, hey, at 16 we're just going to win the game. So we just had to get to 16, and the fact that we were even or ahead early, or even in the mid game, it was pretty much, we were like, okay, we're going to win this game pretty much, because as soon as we hit 16, we got percent damage on Artanis. We got, I think we got Pierce for percent damage on Hanzo, and we have the bonk from Deckard, and we just bonk the sleep, and then we kill him every time with blessings. So it was pretty easy post 16, but it was really annoying before that.
That's what happened. Very, very cool to hear the logic behind that. Feels good.
Moving into game number 3, Towers of Doom. We had a very late pick Vikings coming out from Heavy Impact to force out a Zeratul that hasn't been super successful for WildHeart recently. Did you feel that, was there a little bit of worry having to bring the Zeratul in that spot? Was there another pick that you were considering?
We were pretty flexible on that pick. We always try to keep our last pick extremely flexible. Uh, TLV is also very annoying to play against. So I think they were just trying to draft annoying heroes every game. So we were ready for whatever they were going to pick. We thought they were going to pick double support. They did not, and then they picked that, and then I was like, okay, now we got to pick something to deal with that in late game. So Zeratul ended up just working what's best there. And I think we were comfortable enough to play Zeratul. We haven't really played too much Zeratul, so.
Makes sense. Jinxie?
You guys have pretty much hit the nail on the head for all of mine in those games so far. Going into game number 3, how did you guys go about dealing with the really heavy front line of Heavy Impact? Were there draft changes that needs to be made, or after you saw the Maiev come out, you're just like, okay, this is cut and dry. This is exactly what we want to do.
I think we were already happy, and we thought we pretty much won draft already before they picked the Maiev. I don't think their comp was that good against our comp, so when we locked in the Leo and the Hanzo, I was pretty happy with those 2 picks, and I don't think they could kill Leo, and I was very tanky that entire game, so I think post 20 they hard lose the game, so I think that's kind of what led to the base race, because I think it was just our draft was just stronger, which leads to just because they left Medivh up again for some reason, so. Medivh's pretty good.
And with level 20, with the Leo, you went with the Paralyzing Rage at level 4 instead of what would be the more expected pick on that map of the Neo Peasants. We had our theories during the game ourselves, but I'd love to hear your logic behind it.
Neo Peasants is just for wave clear, and I don't really do much on the map once I wave clear. Maybe I can double soak, maybe I can catch another wave here and there. But my opportunity once I double soak is only bodying D.Va and rotations, which I could have done a better job at, and that could have been my advantage early game. But I wanted to be more impactful late game because that's how we win the game. So taking the slow guarantees me to land my W, which I don't think I missed any Ws post like 4-10 or whatever it was in all those team fights. So I just slowed the Uther and just put my W on Uther, and then I was just unkillable. So taking the slow guarantees me to land that. So. There's not. Go ahead.
You also went for the Drain Hope talent, the Burning Rage. I can't remember what the exact talent is called. At level 20 instead of the Silence Tombs.
Oh yeah, I don't think. I just don't think they can kill Leo with their comp. I don't think it's possible as long as I land my W. Unless they somehow sleep me or they had D shield and they stop my drain, that's the only way they can kill me. But even if they blow all those resources, then I have Leyline, I have Medivh portal, I have Medivh, shield, I have all these other tools. So at that point, I just want to go in there and just do some damage. Unfortunately, the way the game ended, we didn't really have a full 5-on-5 team fight to see that in action, but that was kind of the process behind it.
Makes sense. I mean, we saw, like we were talking about that. It was a really cool adjustment to see, and being able to control his objectives. Like you said, you were able to just sort of live over in the side of Heavy Impact and never die. So I thought that was a really cool adjustment there. But 3-1 victory over Heavy Impact means you are the victors of Storm Division Season 2. Tell me a little bit about just how this season has been for you. Has it been, a lot of friends with friends, very high competition level? What's the journey been like?
I think there was a couple competitions that were pretty high in skill here and there, which were enjoyable games. But I think it was the ability to play a bunch of different people and not people you traditionally see, and being able to play different comps that are more fun and kind of hang out with the team because we all like playing with each other. We had no problem playing. It's fun taking a break and trying out new stuff and doing wonky stuff in NGS. Sure, we can try that and just do that as friends. If you play more games, oh darn, we get to play more Heroes of the Storm. So in the end, it was a win-win no matter what.
Awesome stuff. Glad to hear it. Any closing questions, Jinxie, Tetcher?
That's it for me. It just overall, well done, guys. It's been such a pleasure to have you. It's been so fun to watch your games, and we hope to see you back for next season because as the victors, you don't have to fight through the crucibles. You just get to come in and play. So we hope that you come back.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see how everything ends up because we got CCL stuff and we got DreamHack coming up. So
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
spicy stuff.
Hell yeah. So I guess that leaves us with just a final question. With you being the champions now, do you have anyone to shout out, any call outs you want to do, any final words for your NGS season?
Yeah. Shout out to WildHeart, of course. Shout out to my team for showing up and playing some games. It was pretty fun. Shout out for Funds for subbing early on in the season. He decided to join another NGS team for a little while and go off on other ventures, but we appreciated him subbing us. Shout out to Slug Hunter, our video editor. He puts out awesome videos, which I'm pretty sure he did comms videos for all of the NGS games, or most of all of them. So those are really fun to watch. Very enjoyable. And yeah, and shout out to NGS and the casters for being able to put those all together. It was a lot of fun.
Our pleasure entirely. Zergling, once again, congratulations on the victory. Hope you go off and have some celebration tonight before you jump right back on the practice bandwagon for the rest of WildHeart's activities. Congratulations, and hopefully we'll see you next season.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Have